again this evening. We're here for our second workshop, Tuesday, for the record, January 11th. It is now 4:32 in the evening, City Hall, City Council Chambers, 790 Homestead Boulevard. We're here for a workshop on the baseball stadium. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Burgess.
Here.
Councilwoman Lobos.
Here.
Councilman Maldonado.
Here.
Councilman Shelley.
Here.
Councilman Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Wallman.
Here.
Mayor Bateman.
Here. We don't have a roll, an order. Mr. Manager, do you have an order that we want to take these in?
No particular order, whatever your preferences may.
Okay, well, it's the baseball stadium, so do we know who the first presenter is? Because I don't have that.
I'd suggest that you do them in the order that they're in the book.
Who is it? Okay, DRT Sports, you want to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record? DRT here, DRT Sports.
That's the one that wasn't coming.
Okay. George, you know if DRT Sports is that the one that was across the street? No? I don't even have my book.
They confirmed that. What did he say? Which number to first?
Ms. Volker said they confirmed, but that they're not here.
That's all I know. I don't have a book. Nope.
Mayor, maybe we'll want to hold off till it doesn't appear that they're here. They said they were coming.
Yeah, because I don't have. I don't want to sound confused, but I don't have this baseball presentation book in front of me. So I can borrow yours?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I have the, unless it's mixed with the. That's yours? Yeah, Bowen Alley. No, he's got two books. I have no books. I was gonna just borrow, swap with Steve. We'll share. Steve and I'll share.
I was going to say, we can share.
I'll share. Okay, Baseball Institute of Development. Mike Pagliaro, Frank Castro, are you present?
Yeah, we're present.
Okay, would you like to come to the podium and do your presentation now?
One of our partners would like 1 minute of our time.
Sure. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tom David with law offices at 381 North Tacoma Avenue, Suite 200. I'm here on behalf of Miami-Dade Big League Baseball. Miami-Dade Big League Baseball provides baseball league services to young people throughout the community. I have some information I'll give to the clerk, and she can hand out to each member. We just want to let you know that we've been meeting extensively with Mr. Pagliarulo and his team, and we're looking very much forward to have an opportunity to run as part of their business plan to run our baseball leagues at the facility. The demand for these fields and for this opportunity is enormous in our community, and we serve hundreds and hundreds of students. We even have one of our players here today, but the main presentation here is going to be made by Mr. Castro and Mr. Pagliarulo, but we just want to let you know we support them very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Tom. Next presenter.
My name is Kurt Hermione, and I'm here on behalf of my group, the Sports Embassy. We are a group that formed this year. Our president, Mr. Pagliarulo, who's standing behind me, is a former Major League ball player, World Series champion, and has worked extensively with Major League Baseball and others in developing players and coaching them. Also behind me, we have Jehuda Kaplun, who's our Vice President of the Embassy, and he specializes in government relations and media relations for our group. Behind me is Homestead's own Frank Castro. Frank Castro is also Vice President of the Embassy and a local real estate developer. Our group, as I stated earlier, was incorporated this year, and our vision is to use the baseball facility in Homestead for its intended purpose, to have professional baseball without raising taxes to your residents. We have our ownership group, through our president, has a proven track record. In Tucson, Arizona, he was able to save $5 million in a buyout with the Chicago White Sox. In Sarasota, Florida, he saved the city over $30 million in taxpayer savings in negotiations with the Baltimore Orioles. What is the success of our embassy? Well, we will be aligning ourselves with world-class science-based athletic facilities, young sports injury prevention and research, adult baseball and fantasy leagues, amateur sports leagues and tournaments, professional sports competition, embassy village and real estate development, luxury rehabilitation and health spa, fundraiser events to benefit Homestead's public services, and charitable community services that we'll be providing. What is our vision for the city of Homestead? Job creation, events in the facility, business development, community events, and we will be, as we have preliminary figures, we will be saving the city $700,000 by taking over the insurance, taking over utilities, and taking over the maintenance, which we estimate at $700,000 per year. We will also plan to expand the tax base to benefit the community $5 million. And that's a rough estimate that we have from our figures. In conclusion, I'd like to tell you that the Sports Embassy has the best interests of the city of Homestead in mind. We have major league talent backing us up. We have extremely tight connections with the professional baseball world. That distinguishes us from any other presenters that may be coming here today. We will provide benefits and opportunities to the youth of the city of Homestead, and we will be, as the embassy, motivated to take on all of the liabilities and responsibilities of the complex and its 92-acre property. I'd like to open it up for questions if you would like.
Okay, council,
Yes.
questions of these gentlemen? Questions?
I'll go
Yes,
first.
ma'am, please, go out.
First of all, I have the actual figures, so that you know, and I think you're probably pretty accurate on that 700 and some thousand, because here are the actual figures that we spent in 2010 on stadium. For supplies, we spent, I'm just going to round it off, 9,400, and that was the supplies that we needed for the irrigation repairs and just little tiny things, you know, that really didn't mean a lot. South Florida maintenance was 7,600, and that was the first 2 to 3 months work done by SFM, then moving down by the inmates. The electric was approximately 87,000, the water and sewer 23,000, the garbage approximately 11,000, stormwater about 7,800, the repairs approximately 26,000, but that was just minor repairs. That was to fix an elevator that, and I don't even know if it's fixed, but the elevator was repairs on the elevator, the plumbing and the fencing. The contracts, we had pest control and the alarm system and the lighting protection. That was 8,800, and the laser of the baseball fields was 12,005, and the insurance, the insurance policy is approximately $135,000. So I left it out to about 360,000, something in there, 350 to 360. So, but that was without doing anything major to the facility. As you all know, I love this facility, and I really want it to be, excuse me, the beautiful pink lady that it used to be. And I've told you this before. I mean, I stand very firm that I want to see sports back in that facility, and I want to see activity. I want to see a community enjoying the facility. I want to see action. I want to see it. I just want to see something there that's not only going to help the youth, but help the economy in our city as well. I very much like the idea of bringing the the sports medicine into the facility. I'd like to hear more about that. I know we met privately, and I'd like to know more about that. I had a question because you say you're going to pay $500,000 a year to the city, but I didn't understand, and of course we weren't privy to the presentation that you gave, but is that $500,000 going to be deducted by anything? I mean, how is that going to work?
Yes, and would you like to take the first part, the first question about the research, and then we'll take on the financial question?
Well, really, it wasn't that. I was just giving my figures. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Pagliarulo is going to step up and talk a little bit about the research, and then we'll tell you about the financials.
Thank you. And the sports research is just something that I'm very proud that we've taken the lead in this from alumni of Major League Baseball. We've put together some groups that are going to come down here and conduct research with the goal of reducing injuries to youth sports. And this is not just in the sport of baseball. I've spoken with Mike Ruzioni, of course, who's on the Olympic Hockey Committee, and Phil Esposito, who also for the NHL, they want to come down here as well and help out. This is an effort made by former professionals that they're looking for work, and I'm going to give them some jobs. I want to give them jobs right here in Homestead.
What is your anticipation of job creation?
Well, it ties in with the research because right now, sports medicine today, there's really limited sports knowledge in the sports medicine. That's why there's these increasing injuries to kids. It's terrible, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to bridge that gap by bringing the knowledge of the sport here. And that's going to be paid for by research. And we're going to do that first by running events, as many events as we can out of the complex to benefit not only Homestead, but also the community. And in these events, we'll be creating jobs. We'd like to have some summer programs at the school. We have a long, long list of job creation. We just want to work with the city to find out exactly what works best.
To address that $500,000 payment for the first year or two, depending on what we would negotiate with the city of Homestead, we would depend on how much we have to spend on maintenance to bring that field up to par, because that isn't even in the numbers that you gave of your $335,000.
No, that's just what we spent in
Yeah,
2010.
so there would be an initial investment on our part, which we would expect to be credited towards that, to bring these fields up to the state-of-the-art part. And from once we hit that level, there would be a lease payment, or we'd also be interested in exploring if the city of Homestead has that option, for an option to purchase the stadium at a fair market price.
Do I still have the floor, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of the option, you know, in my business, I'm very familiar with options. I've probably taken some of the best classes across the United States from my mentor, Mr. Jack Miller, who has since passed away. But there has to be option money up front if that's what you want to do. So you know, the contract is going to have to be very, very clear. Also, I want to know if there's any possible way of carving out a small section of the land. And let me just clarify this. How much actual land is there that we are offering in this bid? Dennis, do you know? Is it 96 or 92?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and City Manager. The charter school took over the dormitory in 3 fields, and also then we have the other phase 2. I would probably say around 90.
90? Okay, so we're about right.
Yeah.
We're about right. Out of that 90 acres, are you planning on filling in the lake and making, because, you know, the lake in the front?
No.
You're planning on leaving
No,
that as a-
planning on leaving the lake, and the aesthetics at this point in time, absolutely leaving the way that would be. We'd first focus on bringing in, immediate necessary income to the facility by having fantasy camps, by having the, Miami-Dade Baseball League, youth programs, training camps, things like that, as well as working with professional players who are looking and interested in coming down to working with us. So,
Another thing that, and believe you me, I took this very seriously. I think I spent 6 hours on Saturday and another 5 hours on Sunday going through both of these books and proposals. Is there, we run our summer camp out of the minor league clubhouse. And I know that's not that has to be something I think about. I know you're using the minor league clubhouse, but I'm hoping that, we can enter into, and I'm going to address the same thing to Lele and the other companies that are here tonight. I mean, these are just things that were in my mind. We also run a Halloween event out of the minor league clubhouse.
you had brought that up when we had met, and we had discussed that. We are absolutely, our intentions are to help the summer camp grow. While it may be, if we work with that facility in the minor league, locker rooms are being used, we will work out together or at our expense bring in a trailer or an office where a camp can be run out of.
Okay.
I mean, there's a solution to every problem.
Okay, that'll work then.
We are looking to be a good neighbor, and that includes helping the camp grow. Imagine if you can advertise for your camp that these children are going to get baseball training from professional people who are coming down there. There's going to be different types of events that we're going to do to benefit the community. There's other sporting events that are going to be there that are going to be held that will bring tourism to Homestead, i.e., for example, if we have we have international teams from Japan, Korea, and Venezuela, and the Netherlands have all expressed an interest in working with Mr. Pagarillo. He's worked with them before to do tournaments down here in Homestead, which would then immediately provide jobs for people, not just in the stadium, but also in the hotels, the restaurants, and all the ancillary income that would come in.
Well, I don't want to hog the microphone, but I thank you very much, and I reserve the right, Mayor, to maybe ask a few other questions if they're not answered once I have highlighted.
Mayor?
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Question, just when you say that you have, how can we be sure that you say you just started this organization, how long have you been in existence?
Each one of us collectively has been in their field for probably 10 years. We as a group got together to put this project, specifically this project. Mr. Pagarillo has 15 years experience, and I'll let him speak for himself as to the baseball side. But what we decided when we looked at this project was using our collective talents instead of our individual talents, we formed a group. We then took our group, we met with a bank here in Florida, and went through what our proposals were, what our vision was, and the bank agreed to work with us to fund our project. So in terms of as individuals, each one of our backgrounds is unique to make this project work, because this project was originally built, if I'm correct, to be a professional baseball stadium, okay? And it wasn't meant to be a summer camp. It was meant, but this is something that can include every single element, and the more elements and the more groups and the more partners that we have, the more and greater chance of success that everybody has.
Well, I understand that, but how long has your organization been in existence?
The organization's been in existence probably a couple of weeks, the actual incorporation.
Okay.
We have put this together recently, but we've formed as a company since September, and this is what I've done in Tucson, Arizona. When Pima County Sports Authority had called me, we put together a team that works with the resources of the city. So you just can't bring a business in here and say this is going to work, because it never has anywhere in the country on a baseball stadium. What you have to do is look at the resources around, look who you're working with, and create a team that's able to build that foundation, and that's exactly what we've done.
Okay. Another question, follow-up. When you say that you've met with the banks, I mean, how are you going to finance this? I mean, you're financing it straight through banks, or how can the city be assured that who we're talking to, that you have the financial means to make sure that this is possible? what commitment do we have to look at?
Actually, Executive National Bank has looked at our proposals and our plan, and they're actually here today. One of the representatives from Executive National Bank, Ms. Jessica Safi, who's sitting in the second row, has said that, if this plan were to move forward, which we need this honorable commission to let us do so, they would be ready to finance our venture.
What is the amount that it needs to be financed?
I think those numbers haven't been completely hashed out because we don't know from your end as well as from our end how much money we want up front, but we're ready to, they're ready to give us a full commitment.
All right, I'm still left at the first time. Okay, I'll reserve, Mayor.
The commitment from the bank is enough that we'll be able to fund our operation and operate it in a way that's going to be fiscally responsible. The bank will have approved it and probably give us, proof of 3 years' worth of funds for you guys. Would that answer your question? Is that a better answer for you?
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
my question to them would be, several weeks ago, we had a presentation from the Homestead Miami Speedway in here. And included in their package was a request or a consideration from us to possibly use some of the parking over there for one weekend a year. And talking with the attorney, it's not in the bid package. So that would be something I think that we would need to also work out with whoever comes up here tonight or whoever we talk with.
I think we all know that the traffic problem for Homestead when the Speedway is in town, we think we'd be more than good neighbors to make that happen. And in addition to which, I'm sure that the ancillary property that's not being used, in terms of just parking, we'd work with you. And I don't think we'd be scheduling a major event that day.
Right. Well, I just wanted to clarify that because they were in several weeks ago with a presentation and with their expansion plans that they're trying to move forward with. So, and with that not being put in the documents, I just wanted to put it on the record.
We would put that on the record in our agreement with you if we come to that point, that day or that weekend, we would work with you on the parking problems.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheldon, go ahead.
Provided that you don't put the cars on the field that we bring up to Major League standards, hopefully.
I have one specific question, then kind of a generalized that'll apply to kind of everybody. My one specific, I was looking through your packet. One of the things you did mention in here is that you plan on, if you were the ones that were chosen, you're going to move your headquarters here. But it says to the southeast area. I mean, are you planning on moving your headquarters to Homestead, the Park of Commerce, or are you talking about putting your headquarters in Miami?
We're talking about having our headquarters in the stadium and bringing jobs, secretarial jobs, management jobs, office jobs to the stadium. Okay. That would be in Homestead in the stadium.
Okay, thank you. And then my kind of general, as I view this process, this is everyone's made proposals. This wasn't really part of a city attorney.
Richard, sorry.
I have a question. As far as this procedure, this process goes, this isn't part of the bid process because the bid closed. So everyone really just
we issued a request for an invitation to bid, a request for proposals, and there were no bids received. These are what's called unsolicited proposals. We just have a lot of them.
Correct.
So you're considering them in bulk, and the purpose of the meeting is basically to give the staff direction as to what the objectives are and which proposal sort of seems to would be one you would want us to move ahead with and try to finalize.
Correct. So unlike the normal bid, they're not bound to necessarily anything in the proposal. There's no really formalities. This is
really
more or less
no rules here other than the ones that you're going to set tonight for us.
Correct. They've all made an initial proposal. We can all counter propose. We can say go back and negotiate with one particular group. And so kind of the reason I state that, kind of the basis for that is when I look at this baseball stadium complex, there's a few things that I want to see be accomplished. And one of those is I want to make sure it's a good financial deal. Because at the end of the day, anyone who takes over that baseball stadium is in it for a profit. And so I want to make sure that it's both financially feasible for the entity that's taking it over as well as the city of Homestead. I don't want to see us give it as a low price. Everyone makes a lot of money, but the city of Homestead doesn't get any benefit. And to go along with that, I see that in order for there to be a benefit to the city or to its residents, there needs to be at least a public use to some extent of that facility. Because if you guys are making a lot of money, we give you maybe a favorable deal to get that stadium and to relieve us of the tax liability and some of the expenses that we're incurring. then there still needs to be a benefit for our residents. And so I see that being either as public use, we have the youth organizations to still use it, whether it be part of making part of your area at least open to the public at certain times of the year or certain days of the week. But I want to make sure that this baseball stadium is not just, we're getting a tax liability relief, and then the entity comes in and makes a lot. And this isn't just to you, this is to everybody that's going to present. And the tax liability relieved, and then you guys make a lot of money off the deal. I want to make sure that this is a win-win for everybody, including our residents. So this is a community area over there that needs to make sure that there is a benefit overall. And so that's something, that's kind of my framework of looking at this as we go forward, to be addressed by whoever we end up, directing staff to do further negotiations with.
I think that I can answer that pretty simply by saying our goal and our intention is to work with the Homestead community. That means there'll be clinics for Homestead youth. We want the Homestead people visiting. We're going to hopefully be able to make additions that will increase the tourism and the youth of Homestead, making it an attractive facility, not just by walking around, but also coming in, getting instruction, getting a chance to meet professional athletes, and things like that, that would obviously, together with the dates, I'm sure you guys have events that are standard, and we're ready and willing to work with you, provided that we know what what it is up front.
May I follow up? Please. And also to go, not just that they can pay to come there and use our facilities, but actually have an area that is designated for free use by the public in some form or fashion with the rules, because you have to maintain the integrity of certain fields. I understand that. But that's just, as a framework going forward, no specific thing has to be produced tonight, but I just want to make sure that everybody that's looking at that stadium, those are things that I'm looking for. And so I want to make sure they're addressed going forward, and so that it's part of any proposal, any plan, and you know where I'm coming from at this point. So that's really the purpose of it, so thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're willing to work with the city with that proposal.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
In a letter to Mrs. Waldman dated November 22nd, you have sports complex, number 3, hotel accommodations, and 4 water park. Can you tell me what your plans are and what you mean by what's that, what your thoughts are, where you may intend to go in the future, or what you're thinking?
Well, in the planning stages, we're looking at all possible things that would increase tourism and getting people into the complex. And one of the venues that we were approached with as one of our partners was having the water park complex. And he runs a very successful water park complex. Now that's somewhere in the planning stages and down the road, but we wanted to put it on the table so there are no surprises with people. It's something that we believe could be very viable and increase tourism to Homestead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I just want to be sure that I understand and that everybody else understands. Right now, there isn't a tax liability with our stadium and our city and the county. And this is a question to Richard. It's through the mayor, please.
Please.
It would not be a tax, there's not even a possibility of it being a tax liability unless the option was exercised and the ownership changed hands, correct?
There could be potential tax liability if it's a lease for a profit. There could be a tax liability on the depending how long the lease is.
But that's only if the county deems so, correct?
Correct. And what we would do is to protect the city is that we would sort of assume that there's no tax liability, but we would say specifically that if there were any tax liability, that it would fall upon the operator, not the city.
And as everybody knows, we've been fighting for years and years and years to try to make that happen with the taxes with the Speedway, and it hasn't happened since, what, how many years? We're getting there? Mr. Burgess says we're getting there. But I just want to make sure that people realize that that is not something that affects us right now. That's why that wasn't part of the expense that I gave you in the very beginning. So it would only be, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it would only be if the county deems.
If the tax assessor decides that it should be taxable. And the way we protect the city, again, is we put something in the agreement that's saying to the extent it becomes subject to ad valorem property taxes, that would fall on the operator, not the city.
And no offense to anybody here, but I could only hope that that would happen. Because that would be a really good thing for our city to start getting some ad valorem taxes from some of the organizations. So, thank you very much, Brian.
Mr. Wayne? Yeah. I've got a question since Vice Mayor brought that up. Your organization in your book here, is it a 501c3? Or is it for
No,
profit?
the Sports Embassy is not. Baseball Institute of Development is. We have more than one component in here, and we're all working from the same place, and we need to create that interdisciplinary platform to improve injuries to youth sports, and that's why we have the nonprofit.
Yeah, but which one is it going under? Is it going under the nonprofit, or is it going on the one for profit? Because that will make a difference.
But we have to look at the facility first. We have to test the grounds. I mean, the grounds, the stadium field is going to be the nonprofit. The facility is going to be the Sports Embassy.
There may be, I understand the question. Okay, I understand the question.
All right.
But until we have, or we're sitting at the table to work with our attorneys, the tax attorneys, to structure the best deal for the group, I can't answer that one. There's more than one component.
Mayor, one of the things I wanted to bring to the council's attention regarding this particular organization, I think some of the questions that were raised today have been raised by staff, and that is that individually they have a track record, but as a group they don't have the track record for us to do the analysis. We've also asked them for additional information in terms of studies, pro formas, all the kind of data that we expect to do, and we haven't received any of that, so it's very difficult for us to analyze and understand what this is. So my hope is if as you delve further, we can get a commitment from them that they'll provide us the information so we can provide you back the analysis that you'll need.
Mayor?
I'll take the questions.
Mr. Wayne? Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
My question then is now to the city manager. In that case, then, how can, I can't make an intelligent decision today if this group is coming before me without those, without the pro forma, without any of the financials. I don't know how solvent their company is. I know they're telling me individually, but when we do something as a business, we're contracting with the organization. Though there are many principles that make up the organization, we have to hold somebody accountable. And I just don't, they're not giving me any concrete evidence, information financially for me to even consider this proposal from them, because I just don't have the tools to work with. And so I don't want to sit up here and continue to listen, because we're just going to be talking in fluff. There's anything concrete that I can look at. And this is no disrespect to the presenters, but this is for you, because at this moment we're just talking. I can't intelligently sit up here and make a decision without those kind of documents. I'm going to continue to ask questions, but they're not going to have it.
So in answer to part of that is one of the things that we asked at the meeting was that we have a non-circumvent to provide all our financial information, or a non-disclosure where our information is kept private. And we did not want our information or our strategic partners with all their financial information being disclosed to the whole world. We have a partner who has fantasy baseball camps, and it's a privately held company. He was more than willing to provide all the information necessary as long as there's a non-circumvent. That all the council members can have all the financial information that they wish, but it was not meant for the public eye for his information. We're ready to do that. We stand committed to do that today, provided we can have some sort of a time frame with our information presented stays with the city council members, and just not for the public's consumption. I'm sure you understand that the New York Yankees don't want their information floating around, or fantasy players or Baseball Hall of Fame, who we're working with on other projects, don't want to provide their financials to the whole world, but they will provide them on a case-by-case basis.
But, excuse me, sir, I understand all of that, but you're coming to a public entity. You're asking for public and private partnership. Part of our responsibilities as elected officials is to make sure that we get the best for our city residents. And I understand all of that, but you're asking us with your proposal, and I can't intelligently sit here and say that you're the best proposal because I don't have a certain information. Now, if you're going to give that to us, that's up to you, but as of today, I'm not going to, I can't do that. So I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, we need things to work with appear to be able to intelligently make a decision.
Two other cities have done that, it's Tucson, Arizona, and Sarasota, Florida. They've come to us, and we created the company right there for them. They contracted with me directly.
In all fairness to all the applicants, this is a workshop. This is a workshop, and that's what we're here tonight, to work through these different questions that come out of all 7 of us. So it is a workshop in fairness to everyone. And I'm sure the next applicant, there's going to be questions we have with that one, as well as this one. Do you have any further questions from
I
council
have a
before
comment.
I get that one?
I have one comment.
Yes.
I would suggest that we listen to all of the proposers that are here tonight, and because this isn't the normal RFP, this is outside of the box. I hate to use that expression, but it's outside of the box. And you know, I might just very well say, you know, there's 2 companies that I want to progress with to find out more information on, because quite frankly, none of them had all the information that I was looking for, including the bowling alley. So this is a workshop, and there's a reason that it's called a workshop. And I appreciate, Mr. Williams, your comments, because it is very true. We can't make a decision without having information. However, I understand as well that you don't want your financials out there for people to see that maybe has no business looking at it. So I understand. But I would suggest, Mayor, that we move forward, and if you're finished.
But
sorry.
I asked the question? Okay. Everybody,
I just want to say thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council.
I'm going to ask a couple. I usually let the council do what they want, then I'll...
Okay, not a problem.
Ms. Lovelace.
Yes, Mayor, I know you nodded my way and asked if I had questions, and I actually am sitting here trying to absorb all the information and treating it as a workshop, wanting to learn more additional information. And I know that, along with Mr. Williams' comments, we're doing a lot of forecasting. We're talking about future numbers, future projects, perhaps some people coming down. And so my questions, as I told you, Mayor, will be towards the end, because I'm interested in hearing all the projects and then moving forward from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple quick questions that you don't have to go in depth, but I'd like to hear a little more, maybe from you, Mike, about the sports medicine. Who have you contacted? Who have you worked with around the county so far? What type of interest and what type of feedback have you gotten on the sports medicine part of it?
Well, we've met with Doctors Hospital and Baptist Hospital, and you know, we had a great meeting earlier in the fall, and they don't have a sports health center down here, and I think it would be a perfect situation where we partner up and we build it together, using the sports knowledge from various sports around the country, around the world. And I have a partnership with the American College of Sports Medicine, which I created last summer, and they actually heard from them today and said it was all right for us to use them and work with them in any way with Homestead. They'd love to come down and work here. We just got back from the NCAA on the Injury Prevention Committee, Frank and I, and you know, I mean, there's so much positive feedback from the sports health industry that they need to have better research, and they have to have better knowledge to help the kids who are these increasing injuries. And so there's only one way to address it, really, and that's really to get the knowledge from the sports. And so that's what we're doing, and we're trying to create that bridge. So it's very positive.
And how long were you involved in professional baseball?
I played professional baseball since 1981. When I was at University of Miami for 3 years, I was drafted out of my junior year. Both Frank and I were drafted. And
I asked that question just for the knowledge. You know, we're looking for knowledge and people who are knowledgeable in this industry, and so that's why I asked you that.
It's very. I think it's very key to the Homestead Sports Complex, because really there's only 30 businesses that are able to succeed in that complex. And they're one of 30 major league teams. If you're not one of those teams, you need to be very creative, and you need to build a team that's able to utilize the city resources, which is what we've done.
Okay. And last question, Frank Castro, you know, you're the hometown boy, as we said, so you need to come to the microphone and tell me how this is going to benefit our hometown boys. You know, what is it going to do for our little league and our Koi League, and what you see and what you've seen in the past growing up here in Homestead?
Well, we're gonna definitely bring seminars and camps and clinics from the big league ball players to benefit. You know, I've been here for 20 years, and I've been part of the Little League, bringing University of Miami to form clinics for youth baseball, J.D. Red, and also at Harris Field. And when I ran across this group, by living here in Homestead, I'm very proud to live here in Homestead, and I ran across this group and I said, look, there's a facility in Homestead they really need to see, because something needs to happen here, because I'm a taxpayer too, so I live here, okay? And I really want this to happen. When I heard the concept, I was really, really excited about it, that we can bring this thing happen. Like Judy said, we built this for Major League Baseball, and this is the group that could bring this back and make this happen. So that's where I brought it to my hometown of Homestead, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I mean, it doesn't have wheels, so we know it's not going to be hauled out of here. So what we
No,
want is
they
the
took
best-
my wheels away when I brought them.
We want the best use for it, just as Mr. Shelley said, there's got to be a quality of life issue there for our hometown people. We can't lock them out, we can't box them out, so
Oh, no.
you got to sell me on the hometown. You know how I am with local preference. You know how I am, I beat on the desk up here. We've got to hire locals, so think about that locals.
Oh, no, local will be
You want to just wrap up just real quick?
Yeah, I just want to say two things. One, in terms of hiring locals, that's our preference. Wherever we've been based, we look forward to hiring the locals, giving children the opportunity, teenagers the opportunity in the summer for summer jobs, and creating an opportunity that works for everybody. In addition to which, I know the mayor and the Vice Mayor Judy both know that we have a long history, both myself and Mr. Pagliarulo, with Frank Castro and Kurt Hermani, working with special needs children around the country, and we've been recognized by Congress for the work that we do with special needs children. We would love to be able to work on partnerships to raise awareness and do benefits using the bully pulpit that we have with the sports complex, and having the professional players coming down here would definitely assist in all the aspects of raising money for these children on a charity basis. We're here to help. We're here to make a business venture grow, not just using the complex for what it was originally intended for, which is professional baseball, increased tourism by doing fantasy camps, by having tournaments. These are things that we will give you all the financials for if the council can see a way through to be able to just keep our information. Whatever is necessary will be provided, but we would like the opportunity where it's not sent through with our strategic partners around the country.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We want to thank you, Mayor,
Yes,
and the
thank you
council.
all.
Thank you very much.
And sit tight, because I think you're going to have some questions throughout this. And at this time, I'd like to announce that we spoke with DRT Sports, and they will not be attending tonight. So I'm going to move to the next presenter, Lillet Sports. Would Lillet come up and start your presentation, please? And I don't have a time. There's not a time clock. I'll tell you guys, as you saw, we let them go on. We do have another meeting at 6 o'clock, so pace yourself based on what that clock says right now.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
My name is John Ruiz. I'm the president of Lillet Enterprises, which is the parent company of a number of subsidiaries, one of which is Lillet Sports. To tell you a little bit about the background of our company, we have absolutely everything that is necessary to move not only our entire organization into this complex, but we have all facets of what is necessary to run that complex and run it in a fashion that is going to work not only for the city, but also for tourism and everything else that's associated. I'll start off with the fact that our training center trains most of the professional athletes. The most recognized one is Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez trains at Lillet Sports Training Center for 4 months out of the year while he's not with the New York Yankees. One of our trainers is Mike Tozar. Mike Tozar is recognized as one of the best hitting instructors in the United States of America, training professional athletes like Alex Rodriguez. In addition to Alex Rodriguez, he's trained Pujols, Posada, Joe Mauer, Josh Hamilton. The list goes on and on. One of the other individuals in our entity is Laser Collazo. Laser Collazo was with the University of Miami for about 20 years. He is the executive director of Lillet Sports, and we run a lot of our tournaments with Lillet Sports, or through Lillet Sports, with a lot of the parks in the city of Miami. Just most recently, we were at Tamiami, where we had about 70 teams, about 1,200 players, in addition to that with their parents. With me here today is Enrique Fernandez. Enrique Fernandez, if you could just raise your hand so they see who you are. Enrique has been running
most of the leagues throughout Dade County, and also ran the Florida Marlins RBI Association, what they have as a program for inner city kids. We are very affiliated with inner city kids, and one of the things, I'm talking a lot about baseball, but I'm going to move into other sports as well, because LA Sports is not just about baseball. In fact, we just covered and aired the private versus public all-star game in Broward County, and that was aired through Channel 22 for 3 hours. These were the all-stars that were chosen from both sides. In conjunction with our organization, we have Sam Madison, 4-time Pro Bowler for the Dolphins, which is affiliated with our association. We have Patrick Surtain. We have David Menard. These are all professional football players that played. We have Cliff Floyd from the Florida Marlins, Jeffrey Hammonds that lastly played with the Washington Nationals. We also have Charles Johnson, all playing with the Florida Marlins, all affiliated with our organization. Just recently, I spoke to Alex Fernandez, which pitched for the Florida Marlins, and he has joined forces with us as well, wanting to open a strike zone inside the facility. I don't know if you know what strike zone is, but it's basically a store that sells the equipment. Our organization has the infrastructure. We run 13 hours of live television programming. We have 10 of our own internet channels, all broadcasting through LaLayTV.com or LaLaySports.com. Television is moving out, internet television is moving in. We are totally prepared for internet television. We are now creating our own boxes in China to provide all of the residents of Homestead free boxes. In addition to Monroe, Dade, and Broward County, we will be providing free boxes to get free TV. Of our 10 channels, one of them is baseball, football, soccer, economics, health. We have the University of Miami Sports Medicine Department. We do everything for them, and they're in conjunction with us, with Dr. Lee Kaplan and Vinny Scavo, will be here at all of the functions and facilities. We have just about everything and anything that can be asked of. Our organization has it, from health to economics. We just met with MK Tours. Tomorrow I'm meeting with them. We have all of the budgets set aside. We have the fields that will be redone. We have LED screens, like jumbotrons, like when you go to Landshark Stadium. The entire facility will be redone, from all the baseball fields to adding a football field so that we can bring in the schools when they play these major events. We want to add basketball, volleyball, swimming, just absolutely everything that needs to be done at this particular event. We are looking, and our budgets forecast that the city would benefit first year by about $50 million. Why is that? Because Cooperstown offers something that is basically Little League Baseball, 12 years of age and under. Well, we already have. This is not something that we just formulated. This is something that we already have experience with. We've already done it before. It's been successful. And we have our own funding. Our entity runs on its own. Our entity right now has 267 employees. During this particular period of time, we would have to add another 200 employees to be able to carry the entire infrastructure that we need within the facility. We have the Major League Scouts that come to our events. We have recruiters. We are affiliated also with not only the University of Miami, but we know Jim Morris. We know we can bring college teams down here. It's very difficult to bring professional teams. I think the city knows the reason why. You're too far south, and they have commitments with other organizations already. So to the extent that we can bring minor league teams, we can. Now, in addition to everything else, our webpage, which is LaLaySports.com, is an integration of like a Facebook with a YouTube and an added third, which doesn't exist, which is live streaming. We have over 100 and some odd thousand members already, and growing to the tune of 1,500 to 2,000 per day. So the reality is that we have a presentation that some of you have already seen. We'd like to go ahead and play that now, and then I will open up myself to any and all questions. Okay, I'm sorry. It's been playing already, so I didn't realize that. I guess we didn't have the sound portion of it. But Let me go through the realities of the situation. There are two major parks already that have baseball in the city of Homestead, and those parks are working, and this third park could work as a park. But in order to really take it to the next level, there are two main things that LA Sports has that no one else has in the country. And that is, we are the only organization that commencing in January will have objective statistics. That means that normally you have 2 umpires at every baseball game. We are hiring a third with a computer that takes down all the statistics to all the high school baseball games. At the end of the season, we will be the only ones that have the true objective numbers of who is the leader in hitting, who is the leader in bases stolen, and all of the statistics. No one else has this information. We will have it for Monroe, Dade, and Broward County. When we leave here, we're meeting with the Umpire Association. That meeting is in South Miami at about 7 o'clock. This has already been approved so that starting now, as early as February, when the baseball season starts, we will have all these statistics. Our systems are all free. You can become a member of LA Sports free of charge. You can also utilize our system of tracking information and statistics, and it's totally free. So anybody in the city of Homestead, and for that matter in the United States, can utilize our system, put in the names of their teams, the roster of the team, and the positions. And this particular system has a game tracking device. That means that while the game is ongoing, parents can view what is happening in that game. We are also integrated. We have just gotten approved by St. Thomas University, and we're redoing their entire baseball field. We're putting a Jumbotron screen there, redoing their fences, and their entire student body will be trained by our staff to integrate into LA Sports. So what we offer is an entire community involvement with schools and those that are not even in schools, because we will offer free sessions of all of the editing capabilities that our organization has. And as many of you may know, I broadcast a program twice a day. It's at 6 o'clock. Obviously, I'm not going today. Somebody's covering that. And one at 11 o'clock. They're live programs. So we offer 13 hours of live programming already. A lot of these games are broadcast during those time periods. There's recognition. Our entity has 6 reporters that cover all types of stories. We're not only looking at the complex for purposes of sporting events, but we're looking at it for concerts. We're looking to develop movie rights associations. There's a movie coming out now, which we were involved in. It's called Blood Money. That movie will be coming out very shortly. So we offer a variety of different amenities that no other organization has. And we have the best of the best at all of those particular levels. I mean, we really have just covered every gamut of this, and it's not because we did it to make a presentation to Homestead. The reality is that we had this infrastructure, and we're looking for a place, because everything we have is already working. And it so happens that Homestead is the place that we find to be the best for what we're trying to do. And I believe someone asked about using the parking for the Speedway. The reality is that we would need to be able to use some of the parking that Homestead Speedway has as well, because we will be bringing in more people than the Homestead Speedway has. To give you an idea, within an 8-week time period, we will be bringing in about 40 to 50,000 people to the city of Homestead. And that's only during either long weekends or the summer. During the regular baseball season, the majority of the baseball teams have committed already to playing at whatever facility we designate, because we cover these and televise them. Our equipment is the same equipment that's used by the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL. These cameras are worth about $200,000 a piece. We have instant replay machines. We have 7 trucks, all functional and capable of transmitting live any sporting event. And what we're looking to do is integrate this facility with the equipment so that every game and every game that's played at that facility is completely narrated, scores are kept, Character generators are used, replay machines are used, so all the youth that utilizes any of these facilities will feel like if they're in the major leagues. And I'd like to open up for any questions that you have, because I know that I gave out a lot of information.
Mayor, if I could just, for the record, just mention one thing.
Sure.
Out of fairness to both groups, we had also asked this group for financial information, so there's a lot of pieces to their company that we don't fully understand, so it's hard for us to provide that analysis to you. And you should also be aware we asked this group about the tax issue, and at the time that we met, they said they weren't prepared to cover the taxes, so I put that on the table for your consideration as well.
We looked at the tax issue, and we're prepared to move forward with the agreement and covering the taxes to the extent that they would need to be paid.
If it happens.
If it happens.
I mean, we would have been left with this in the racetrack. I mean, we were left behind.
Yes, and that's...
I was never expecting for that facility to generate taxes to the city. And today, they've changed their mind on sporting venues.
Right. And as far as any financial information, we're fully prepared. Our understanding after all the meetings that we had is that after we went to the workshop, before we moved to the next step, that we would provide that. But I will assure you that our entities are all more than capable of maintaining the stadium and in making the investment, which we calculate to be around $2 million, to bring the stadium up to the condition that it should be in. And we have many companies. I mean, we are very affiliated with the Florida Marlins. In fact, we're meeting with them next week. And we have Leon Medical Center, Preferred Care Partners. We're associated with the Miami Herald, with El Nuevo Herald. We do the Miami-Dade and Broward County Athletic Awards. We did it last year. They had never gotten more than about 6,200 votes. And last year we were able to generate almost 81,000 votes. And I think Mr. Brea's daughter was one of the recipients of our award, so he was very, very proud of that. His daughter received the LaLey Outstanding Senior Award. So as far as any of the economics are concerned, we're fully prepared to move forward with that. And quite frankly, as soon as we can ink the agreement that we've proposed, we're prepared to move forward immediately. We think that within 60 days, the complex will have an incredible makeup that when everyone here goes there, you'll be very, very pleased, surprised, and there's a perfect fit for this. And frankly, with any other organization that's been here, we're not here to knock anybody. We really want to work with anybody. If Mr. Castro's group wants to work with us, we don't have a problem with that. I think that we can affiliate ourselves with a lot of these different entities. We just started on the basketball end as well, and we covered over at Eli High School, and something pretty spectacular happened. And I don't know if you know that it's only been like 3 or 4 times that an NBA player has broken a backboard when they dunked the ball. So we were covering this high school facility, and we got the only video of a high school player breaking the backboard. And obviously we're affiliated with a lot of the news entities, so you'll see this. I mean, we have affiliation with Channel 4, 6. We provide a lot of the information at Channel 7. And I think what you'll see is that as the season progresses, a lot of the information that you see on the local channels will be the information that we're providing, because it's a real objective information that you'll see, because there's no one that's interested in providing it in one fashion or another.
Well, thank you. Again, it's a workshop, and this is transparency at its best right here. And this is what it's all about. You know, we look at each player here, and we'll make a decision, and it won't be tonight, it'll be down the road. This is a workshop, and we'll work through it. Thank you very much, and I'll open the floor now.
Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I have a very important question for you.
Yes.
Are you willing to incorporate in, I know you're asking for a lease.
Yes.
Are you willing to give us a timeline as to, because people can make promises all day long that they're going to do this to the stadium or they're going to do that. And I've been in those negotiations in the past when we had entities in there that didn't fulfill what they said they were going to pay. Are you willing to put that in writing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we also have a purchase price incorporated in there of $15 million that we would be able to exercise to purchase the facility at any point in time.
When?
Magical number.
I actually was talking to one of our financial advisors, and we would even be willing to put on there that we could close within a 5-year time period. At the end of 5 years, we would close that, and I think that the city will substantially benefit. I've spoken to even the owner of the Big Cheese. I don't know if you know, the Emilio Estefan just put out a book, and the owner of the Big Cheese works for the Herald, and he's the one that put the book together. So I was speaking to him at that function, and he said that he would really like, you know, this happening in the city of Homestead. I think a lot of the restaurants would benefit, because we're going to be bringing teams in, and we're looking at playing, you know, at least 10, 15, 20, 25 games during the week. There's thousands of games that are played in the different high schools.
How many games?
During the week, we're looking at least 25, 30 games a week. That's just for high school. Now we have junior varsity involved, and we're trying to integrate just more than the varsity level. We also have a program in our facility that provides access to kids that want to obtain scholarships at universities. So our system captures video so that the kids can upload the video, upload pictures, a profile is created, and we track the history of that particular athlete from the beginning of when they start playing to the very end, so that information can be provided to colleges and universities.
One more question, Mayor, and then a statement. The insurance policy, you're willing to cover the insurance policy?
Yes.
Okay.
We have our own insurance already. We would obviously look into whether or not it's more feasible to continue with the policy that the city has, or perhaps we can get a better rate because we travel through AIG private group, which usually gives us a pretty good rate.
So to summarize, then you're willing, make sure I understand this, you're willing to do a timeline for repairs, a timeline?
Yes, the initial outlook is that we will, the first thing that we're going to attack will be the fields around the large stadium plus the stadium itself. We will re-fence all of that, place LED screens on every one of those fields, and then on the main field, we'll redo the field, paint the entire facility, redo all the suites. We have a Subway that's willing to go inside the facility. We have Power Pizza that's willing to place one of their stores inside the facility. We got Alex Fernandez that will not only place one of his stores in the facility, but he's looking to be part and parcel of our entity.
Okay, and so, but you are also willing to work with community youth leagues and events for the community, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we have a $15 million prize that you just threw at me with a
Not in the contract.
with a 5-year buyout, and you're willing to put up some option money on that as well.
Yes, when the time comes that we're going to exercise, we will definitely put up that money so that we can move forward with the purchase.
And one more, the 200, you said you have 267 employees, and that you would need to hire another 200 employees.
That's during the summer.
That's during the summer, okay. And they would all be based out of...
They will all be working out of here. We can't move all of our 267 employees, but I would say that we'll probably move between 80 to 100 of our employees to the city of Homestead if we're able to move forward with this lease of the facility.
And I won't ask the question that the mayor will ask at the end about who's going to do the repairs, but just give you a hint.
Mayor, can I just get a clarification, if you don't mind?
Sure.
I don't recall seeing anything in the documents regarding the $15 million. Have you submitted something to us in regarding that? Because I haven't seen anything.
Yes, the original letter of intent that we submitted has a $15 million number on it.
They're asking for a page.
Okay, what we
So it's right on the first page. It's on the terms. It says 10-year lease.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I see that, but it says $0.
It says $0.
It
Mine
says
says zero.
Where do you see it? Where are you
10-year
looking?
lease.
Page 4. 10-year lease at $0 per month with renewable 2 10-year options under the same terms and first right of refusal at least maturity to match any lease or purchase offer or purchase sports complex for $15 million at any point in time within this period.
You got a different book than I've got.
Yeah, your book,
No, this is the letter of intent that was provided. I'd be more than happy to...
That's all right. We have you
Could
on
you make
record.
7 copies of that?
Absolutely.
Did you read 15 million, did you read 0 to what I read? Did you read?
15000, comma, 000.00.
I didn't hear that. I need to check the record.
Yeah, that's the lease, again, there is a number, and I probably put it, if you're running the facility the way that it should be run, it's going to cost you about $1 million to maintain it. I'm talking about, keeping the grass the way that it should be, the clay, the power, I mean, all that costs a substantial amount of money. We have to have security there, 24 hours a day. We'll have very expensive camera equipment in there. So I think that once, and we actually have here what the complex would look like. I don't know if that's too far for you, but I know that a lot of you have seen that already. But it's really a very nice facility that really, is begging for...
You wouldn't consider color change, would you?
Well, you know what? A lot of people have asked us. The thing is that LaLae Sports, our color is red. And the reason why the facility would be painted red is because of LaLae Sports. And everything we have, as well as the web page, all of our trucks, everything is red.
Well, I thought it was pink. That's something I can deal with.
Hey, okay, it's all right.
I want to get away from the pink. Okay, further questions?
Just one. He's been waiting patiently.
You stated a $2 million investment. Is that just the initial investment that you would have to put forward to bring the field up to where it's usable and the stadium? Because in conversations that I've had, that seems pretty low with what other people have spoken about. So I was just wondering, where does that $2 million get you, and and then when would the next step kick in?
Okay. The good thing is LaLae Enterprises, we have our own construction company, and that's the reason why we're able to move forward with a lot of our projects. The reality is that right up front, we'll need about $1 million to get the stadium up to par. I think a lot of it has to do with the cost of redoing the fields, and the estimate that some of the entities have given is a cost of about $800,000. So we can do that for probably about $150,000. So there's a substantial savings of just that amount in the tune of $650,000 or $700,000, and that may be the difference that it's being claimed would be the amount of money that's necessary. We've gotten quotes to paint the facility for about $200,000, but we can do it ourselves for about $70,000. So we have a substantial savings, and that's how we utilize our funds as best as possible to get more bang for the buck. So I think that the answer to your question directly is I do not think that the facility will require more than a total of $2 million once everything is done. Now, there may be an additional cost because I am looking into building 2 additional fourplex fields. In other words, there will be 2 additional sites on there where there will be fields for 12 and under teams, meaning that the fences will be about 200 to 225 feet. That's something that we will be adding to that, as well as Olympic swimming pool and some other accommodations for football and stands and so forth. If you're trying to picture what this is going to look like, eventually it'll look something like the Wild World of Sports, ESPN Wild World of Sports.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention, I actually watched your broadcast of some local baseball teams, and sat there basically watching for an hour. It was a great program. You had all your commentators there, your news reporters, and they were actually doing it. So I did see it firsthand. Having said that, just as a recommendation or to the manager, to the chair, is that basically what I like about this organization is that it's an organization that's up and running already. So what we're looking at here is basically that an organization that's up and running that just has not found a home. And so if this, I know there's other organizations, but at least for this one, what I'm seeing is it's an organization up and running. Not to say the other ones can't get up and running or they're not possible, but it's what draws my attention to it. So I just wanted to make that recommendation.
So that's about it.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that I reiterate the fact that, we're not trying to knock any other company that's up here. I'm sure that everybody has good intentions. And quite frankly, we would invite some of those entities to work with them. We have absolutely no problem in doing that. We did that with Aero Sports. Aero Sports is an entity that is fostering football for young kids. And to the extent that we can integrate ourselves with any of those entities that are already up and running, we try to do that because we're going to be able to bring a lot of things to the city of Homestead. We got teams from all over the country. We've already contacted over 2,000 teams to bring to a facility. Unfortunately, we're stuck now because we're trying to move as quickly as possible with getting this facility. And I'm kind of stuck with not being able to communicate with those entities and saying, listen, this is what we're going to play, and we're moving forward with it. During the spring break, we already a substantial number of the high school teams, both junior varsity and varsity, that can play at one of the facilities that we designate. So we're already bringing in other teams as well for that. And right now, the 29th of January, at the field that Alex Fernandez has over in Broward, which is Archbishop McCarthy, we're holding a public all-star game, which is Dade versus Broward, and a private all-star game, Dade versus Broward. And we're already doing a lot of that.
Okay.
Any questions, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Schultz.
Okay.
I just have, I got a chance to meet with you, so that was great. I got to see your presentation. I met with you before, and then hearing the presentation tonight. There's no doubt in my mind that you have the ability or are already running a top-notch organization that will produce probably a phenomenal baseball stadium. If I was looking to invest, you've sold me on, okay, this is a great investment. However, the thing that lacks from your presentation, which I told you when we met before and also tonight, is that you haven't sold me yet on what you are really going to do for the community. I mean, it sounds to me you're offering a $0 per month, so it's not even $1 a month, it's a $0 a month at least. So to me, financially the financial deal's not here in this proposal. I don't like the financial deal that's proposed. And then when we spoke before, there was some mention of, okay, can our youth use your facilities? And the answer I got was, yeah, that's fine, but then it was, but we're going to have all these expensive cameras, it's going to be, all state-of-the-art, not even a stadium, but even some of the other stadiums. And it was like, well, maybe they can't use it after all. And so that was my concern, and I told you that, and it's the same position I have now. And it's that, for me, I really like your product. I think you have a very, very great plan and a very big vision. And I'm excited to maybe see that come to fruition. However, I think for me, again, it's back to the community. What are you actually doing for our community? Are all our high schools going to use this facility free of charge then? They can have all their games there. I mean, what is it that you're going to give back? I'm not asking you to present something now because it's just, and going forward though, that's the thing that lacks for this particular project for me.
And I can answer that. Number one, all of the high schools play here free of charge. We don't make our money from charging the high schools to come play at the facility. We will make our money from major sponsors like Tidal Sports or Gatorade, Reebok, Nike, Under Armour. So it's a much broader scope. Now, as far as what's in it for the community will be able to see all types of sporting events, but from the very young ones, we have a lot of what we do is totally free of charge. In fact, I would say that 95% of what we do in our organization, including the integration of our web page and anything that we do, is free of charge. Especially in light of some of what you have commented. I think that what we need to do, because we have a lot of the programs with underprivileged kids and a lot of other programs that we have with disabled kids that we will bring in from other counties as well as this county. So I think that when you look at all the variables, which is concerts, we're looking to get people from the city to come in when it's Halloween. Because all of that integrates. See, we don't make money from the residents. We make money from the companies that want the residents to come. Therefore, it opens up a whole avenue of attractions that residents don't have to pay for. Now, when we have certain events, the residents would have to pay for. If it's a baseball tournament that we have, if you want to eat, obviously you have to pay. You want to get into the stadium, you'll have to pay. But when we're not running those special events, the normal day and every
everyday event as far as, high schools coming to play. We're even willing to say any citizen of the city of Homestead that wants to watch a baseball game, they can do so free of charge and go in the facility. Obviously, the food they'll have to pay for, but
In addition to that, what we were planning is basically city days. So at the very minimum, 5 days out of the year, like New Year's, July 4th, Christmas, you get like a snow machine out there, that type of a thing. So we do want to make this a community partnership, not just, we're just going to go ahead and do our tournaments and, we'll invite you when we need you. Not at all. We basically want to make this a total community involvement.
Correct, and I don't doubt that you do. What I'm saying is that your presentation, focused on a lot of good things, but what was lacking for me was a real focus on direct feedback to us. Not just that we're going to have all these people coming down for games, and so they're going to spend money in our restaurants, and maybe they stay in our hotels, but, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of hotels necessarily from the stat, so it's a chicken or the egg thing.
Right.
That hopefully builds together. But that's what I would like, if the council knows to decide, okay, we want to hear more about this, I think that you need to focus on specifically, one, the financial deal, and number two is really selling or presenting how this gives the direct feedback.
And we have no problem with putting that in writing, but frankly, I think that's something that we need to confer on. If the city wants something on July the 4th, it's difficult for us to put on there what we're going to do unless we all agree on what's going to be best for the city, and we have absolutely no objection to doing that. So the first thing that we would like to do is invite everyone from Monroe, Dade, Broward County totally free of charge, and we've already contacted Pitbull to come to that attraction, and that, again, would be something that would be free of charge. We'll have a grand opening for the facility that will be state-of-the-art. So
we have a relationship now with the Speedway. I believe it's 10 days a year? 8 to 10 days a year, and we don't seem to have a problem. It works for both of us.
Right. And by the way, we also do boxing. We do all the boxing at the Magic City Casino, so we would be able to bring all that boxing over to the city of Homestead, and we're covering all of the MMA functions right now, which I think is in February 25th, 26th, or 23rd. So we have everything, from MMA to boxing. I've also been contacted to have a facility for motocross, so we pretty much have everything that I think would be attractive to everyone here in the city.
Anyone else has, I'd like to say one more.
You sure?
As Parks and Rec Chair, I just want to point out that we do have a wonderful, several wonderful programs going right now in the city with Harris Field. I mean, we keep that going, 24/7. We have Roby George Park. We have the soccer leagues. We have 4 new fields opening in Roscoe Warren Park. We have, many different things. So I personally would not expect you to take on all of our youth, but at the same time, I agree with Mr. Shelley that we do want to make sure we have community involvement. I'm very, of course, in today's economic times, I'm very interested in bringing money to the city.
Yes.
And we have businesses who are just trying so hard to stay alive, and I see this in the first proposal as well. I know they have that best interest at heart as well, and in a perfect world, you both would be there. But,
I mean, our track history is already there with the city of Miami. We fed over 250 families during Christmas, all donated by Lale Enterprises. We broadcast the lighting of the tree at the city of Miami, where all the commissioners were there, and Mayor Regalado was there. So we definitely have a very open book as far as involving the community, because ultimately that's really what it's about. It's really about getting a positive experience, and we have so much to offer in South Florida, as close as the Keys in Homestead, and I think that Homestead is a great place to film a lot of movies, and that's something that we're looking to do, and all of our equipment is going to be here already. Plus, the other thing that the city needs to understand is that when we transmit our programs, the city will benefit from them, because everybody watches our programs are watched by millions of people. And when that's happening, it's all coming out of the city, not only in the complex, but as close as a speedway and the restaurants around it and the hotels. So there's a lot of integration there as well, which I think is very positive for the city as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, just stand by. Okay, I failed to mention that, I did mention that DRT Sports would not be here, but they've also withdrawn their proposals. I think it's important to say. Our last group here this evening, Advanced Sports Technologies.
And Mayor, they will not be here. They said that they'd be available for questions if anybody wants to call.
Okay. Did we pass anyone over in the earlier group that's it? Okay, any final questions from council? You know, I would like, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to make a statement, Mayor, and that is that since we're missing information on both entities, Mr. Mayor and City Manager, but you asked for direction, you know, I would certainly, my personal opinion would be to ask both entities to give us the information that was asked for tonight so that we can digest it but I don't want to see this going very long because I want my lady to be on the dance card with somebody because it's been a long time coming. So I would think that, Mayor, if we could get it together, that perhaps we could have a meeting before the council meeting next week and make some decisions.
I would ask both applicants to get with the manager and the manager get with them. And I think they've heard what 7 of us have thrown out and what we're looking for. And I think that it gives you your last best effort, and you bring that forward. And
Mayor, is it fair to say that these 2 proposers are the only ones that you want the information from?
I think that they showed up and put the best foot forward. So let's move forward with them. And I ask both of you to bring your best effort and your last proposal forward. And may the best man win. Both of them were great presentations. I appreciate your time and effort, and I wish you the best on it.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yes.
Just, if we could, from Lillet Sports, could I get a accurate copy of what you were reading off of with the $15 million number and stuff to our clerk so that we could
give that to staff, and they'll run a copy and give yours back.
Because I, like Councilman Williams, said 0.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the number that shows up in my book.
Oh, gee.
He already has a commitment from the Boys and Girls Club to run part of their program out of the city club. We're very affiliated with them. In fact, his sister runs the federal foundation. So we have their commitment as well.
Yeah, and I think there was another organization as well who put really a valid effort forward, and I think they're working with you now. That's what I've heard through the grapevine. So I don't even, off the top of my head, I don't remember the name of the company, but that's good. And hopefully the 2 of you can get together and make something good out of the whole project for Homestead, for the people of Homestead. Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn this workshop. Motion?
Actually, Mr. Lee, there's a second portion of the workshop which deals with the bowling alley.
Oh my God, I forgot about the bowling. I apologize. All right, the bowling alley. That's right, I did request that.
It'll only take about 5 minutes.
Yes, you can. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
5 minutes, can we ask for a 5-minute, motion for a 5-minute? Mr. Break.
Well, anyone needs to step out, you can. I think that...
We'll be right back.
Before Wayne. Where you going? Wayne, you ran them all off, brother.
I'm used to that. I've been known to do that.
All right, we're going to go back into our workshop. I apologize for not remembering the bowling alley issue because I'm the one that asked for the bowling alley issue to be put on tonight. So with that said, can we have the first applicant? There he is, at the podium. Mr. Rosen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Manager. My name is Wayne Rosen, 277 Galleon Court, Coral Gables, Florida. Also some property and some homes within Homestead as well. I'm pretty much a local. We are prepared to do a small 6-minute slideshow, and would like to start that. And I have two gentlemen, Rolando Llanes and Frank Bolaños, that are going to accompany myself in discussing the proposal to take the bowling alley and convert it into a high school that will be built to specifically serve the southwest section of Homestead. So if we could,
yes, sir,
we'd like to start the slideshow.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Again, my name is Frank Bolaños. I reside at 3024 Northwest 99th Place in Doral, Florida. My background includes being former chairman of the Miami-Dade County School Board. What we have is a unique opportunity to enter into a public-private partnership with the City of Homestead. We believe that this is the best and most viable long-term use for this facility. It will create a public partnership that will benefit the students, parents, and all of the residents of the city. We've highlighted 4 areas that are very significant. The first being job creation. Our proposal will create approximately 100 jobs, and there's a slide that will show that in greater detail. We also will provide increased and enhanced education for the students of Homestead, and we have here our school and education partner, Somerset Charter School, is already very active and successful in the area. And public partnership also includes an important concept and component of workforce development. In this very tough economic times, it's extremely important that vocational education be provided to our young adults that have either graduated from high school or dropped out from high school. Our proposal includes an after-hours vocational component, which we will work together with the City of Homestead and its officials. These combined 3 components will in fact improve the quality of life of the residents of Homestead, and therefore the importance of this long-term public-private partnership. To further expand on these value-added benefits, our educational partner, Somerset Academy, has a successful 14-year track record of high-performing schools. That includes having turned around chronically low-performing schools. And we have here a representative that will talk about that experience, and we're also pleased and proud to have with us here principals, assistant principals, parents, and students of Somerset Academy. One of the greatest and most recent experience will be highlighted by Mr. Llanes in a subsequent slide. Our proposal will also increase the ad valorem tax revenues for the city by increasing the property value of both residences and business in the surrounding areas. And we have a slide that shows some of the independent research has been conducted to support that in other communities throughout our nation. If you look at the job creation, this is an estimate of approximately 100 jobs being created by this project. These are pre-construction, construction, and education service-related jobs that the charter school will provide. There are numerous other indirect jobs that will be created, numerous others indirect industries and service industries that will provide services to the school that are not reflected in this slide. There's also a significant economic multiplier that will bring long-term benefits, financial benefits to the City of Homestead. Now, this is some of the research that we've highlighted. When the city clerk has the electronic version of our proposal, you'll be able to click on any of these links and see some of the research that substantiates how high-performing, successful schools increase property values in the area surrounding it. With this, I'd like to pass it on to Rolando Llanes, who will talk about Somerset Academy and the excellent educational programs that it will provide through this proposal.
introductions as you go forward. Did you?
Yes.
Thank you, Frank. My name again is Rolando Llanes. I'm the principal of Civica Architects and Urban Design, with offices at 8323 Northwest 12th Street in the city of Doral. And I'm pleased to be here tonight. As Frank mentioned, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Somerset Academy and also about the facility issues present in this opportunity. Somerset Academy, as you can see by the slide in front of you, is a long-standing educational institution, not only in Dade and Broward counties, but as you can see, it also has schools in Duval County, Florida, and in San Antonio, Texas. If we go to the next slide, you'll notice, again, as Frank mentioned before, Somerset has a 14-year operating history, so it's an institution that has been around for a long time and will be around for much longer than that. They run high-performing charter schools. In fact, two of them are here in your city, Somerset City Arts and Somerset South Homestead, or SoHo as we call it, and the principals and assistant principals are here, Cristina Cruz, Idalia Suarez, and Laida Morales. Somerset also offers full K-12 schools as feeders into other schools. It is the only charter school system it is the only charter school system in the nation that is SACS accredited as a district, and if you want more information on that, the educators that are here can certainly provide that. But that's an important distinction because every Somerset school that opens as a result is automatically SACS accredited and gets the benefit of that accreditation. And no other charter school in the nation, frankly, has that distinction. They run rigorous K through 8 educational programs. It is tuition free. It's an important component about charter schools, as you know. And there's a significant amount of parental involvement. You can see some of it here today. That includes a parental contract that the school has with each parent, and they have to uphold the letter of that contract, which includes a series of elements that constitutes really the culture, generates the appropriate culture of the place. On the left of that slide, you see a very important image, which is the letter grades that Somerset Academy gets from the state of Florida. If you notice, in many of their schools are predominantly A schools. I have been fortunate to be working with several Somerset schools as the designer of many of their facilities. Here you see two of them. The one on the top is in Miramar, Florida. The one on the bottom is in South Dade, not too far from here, and both of those schools are A schools. One is a K-8, one is a K-12. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, in the next slide, you see representations there of Somerset SoHo, which used to be formerly known as the Sacred Heart School, and Somerset City Arts. And again, I mentioned the individuals that are here from those two schools, and we work with them also on a daily basis on their facility issues as well. In the case of Somerset SoHo, this image is quite important. In the year that Cristina Cruz has been the principal, in the year that it's been in existence, it has gone from a reading proficiency of 3% to 80% reading proficiency in one school year, which you could talk about facilities all you want and about architecture and all these other things, but that's probably the most important slide that I'm going to show you today. The next slide, also important, but maybe not as important as reading proficiency and all the good things that they do for kids, is the waiting list that they have. So it's something that we feel greatly that this project will satisfy the community's educational needs. That's just the waiting list that currently exists at Somerset SoHo. It's 387 kids. This is predominantly a Title I school. 65% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. And I might say that between SoHo, City Arts, and the waiting list, over 80% of those kids are Homestead residents.
Very quickly, you're very familiar, obviously, with the site. The slide in front of you there shows you the bowling alley site. Somerset Soho is just to the immediate left of that, about a block away. So, and City Arts is about a mile away from that, in the same southwest portion of Homestead. The site, as you know, is bounded on the west by US 1, on the east by Fifth Avenue. It's about approximately a 4.5-acre site, as you all know. Now, I thought it would be important to take you very quickly through a very similar project we did several years ago. This is a school. It is a Matter Academy Middle High School, very same kind of middle high program that we're talking about bringing to this facility. And what that was an abandoned BJ's Wholesale, about 120,000 square foot warehouse that we converted over the years into a high-performing A-rated middle high public charter school. There you can see what it looked like back then in 2002. The looping road in front of it is Northwest 103rd, probably even busier in terms of traffic densities than even US 1 in front of this particular site there. The Palmetto Expressway is to the east of that location. And in this next slide, what you can see is phase 1. This is similar to what we're proposing to do here. To the east of that building, you see the improved area is the initial phase, which in this particular case was 600 students. It has its own loop, its own parking, and all of the requisite parts of the program. The rest of the site remained under construction and under subsequent phases. Finally, if you fast forward now from 2002 to present day, there are over 2,700 students on that site, that particular site. The school has now been improved. The full 120,000 square foot building, old BJ's, was improved to have a gymnasium, classrooms, labs, cafeteria, etc. Since then, we've added a performing arts building just to the north there, about a 30,000 square foot building with its own performing arts theater, and just recently opened, and here's images of those buildings in that subsequent slide, just recently opened the building to the bottom right of that slide, which is the athletic locker rooms, and also has a band room and a spill-out area for a cafeteria. So it's a very similar project in the sense that we took an existing warehouse and converted it to a high-performing middle high school over the course of time. And the sites are very similar in terms of the nature of the transit components of the site and on the neighborhoods, etc. Very quickly, I just wanted to show you one initial idea that we've had about how to convert this site to the use of the school. One of the things that you need, of course, you have to pay attention to on-site stacking for vehicles to get those vehicles off the road, to create multiple arrivals and dismissals. So that red line that you see, this is an ideal site for that because it provides us, I believe it's over 1,100 lineal feet of stacking, and that's going from the point where it starts to the point where it ends against that green field there, and then back out to the east. That's over 50 vehicles, 51 vehicles, tremendous amount of on-site stacking at that one moment in time. And once the dismissal goes, as you know, this is a very fluid movement. So it has tremendous capacity to move vehicles in and out of the site. We are proposing over 40,000 square feet of outdoor rec area. That's the green portion that you see there. And what is left over allows us to still have the amount of requisite parking that we would need, and that's a significant element as well. In fact, we would be exceeding the state standards for public school parking for a similar type of school of this size, and we're proposing right now it's a 1,200 student station middle high school. And when you do the math and you look at state standards for public school parking at those grade levels and those numbers, we would actually be exceeding that. So we're very happy about that the site provides for that. Another very important element of that slide is that we are saying that exclusively arrivals and dismissal happen towards the east, away from US 1. So that will not affect traffic on the main corridor. Once those elements are done in the very early morning, and as you know, between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, in that moment where the school is operating as it's fully functioning, there will be some limited access from US 1 for visitors and staff and things like that, but nothing very significant. So I think with that, I don't know if I missed anything. I'll turn it back to Wayne, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have, either on the facility side or on the educational side that you may have.
Okay, Counsel.
Mr. Mayor.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Through the chair to Mr. Brea, looking at this proposal on their stacking and entryway and exitway, what kind of impact would that have on the neighborhood, and improvements do you think we would need back in there, if you've even had a chance to look at that?
Well,
what kind of...
This is the first time I see this figure, but I can speak in general terms. Looking at the frontage of the building, it fronts US 1. That is high velocity highway, which, you know, we did speak with DOT regarding that to see what kind of permits they will require. And of course, it will require a traffic analysis be performed to make sure that whatever speed zones or any type of modifications that will be required on that frontage road. Looking just right now, looking at the two back entrances on that roadway, the only thing that we would have to look at again is what kind of impacts they would have in those roadways in terms for residents, which there are residential communities both to the east and I guess the northwest area. There's a hotel there. So, but generally to the east and to the southeast is the city's fleet property where we keep all our equipment. We do use that road quite often to bring out our, you know, trash trucks, etc. every morning. So those are things that we would have to look at to see what kind of impacts they would create, not only for the residents but also in the operation of our city services.
Thank you. That's all for right now. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Mr. Mayor. I just have a few questions as well. Now, how this is going to be at first a K through 8 or at first a high school, and then how does this work or correspond with the existing Somerset school that's across the street? Are they going to move over here when this is completed, and this is going to be the main facility? Explain to me the interrelation of that.
If I could, and if I miss anything, the educators that are in the room that teach at and operate Somerset schools here in Homestead can add to that. But the intent is that the existing schools will remain where they are. They would feed into this, which would be a middle high. Somerset City Arts is a K-5. Somerset Soho is a K-8. And so there might be some overlap, but there will be a lot of flexibility in that regard to be able to look at this as really the main middle high school campus for the Somerset Academies in Homestead.
And because one of the concerns I have, and one of the things I would want is more information regarding this, and that is, you know, we went from a community with very few high schools to now it seems like everything's coming through, which is great. It's a great thing to have happen. But I just want, at some point you reach a level where there's too many schools and not enough students to feed those schools because things are happening so rapidly. We have schools right now that aren't built, and these numbers are based on the fact that those schools don't exist. So I just want to make sure that there is ample students to feed these schools, especially because these are charter schools and you guys run on profit, which means that if there aren't ample students to fill your classrooms, that at some point you're going to have to shut down. And so I don't want to see that happen. That's why I want to make sure that there's information there that shows that we aren't exceeding, you know, our schools aren't exceeding the number of students that we have. And that's just one of the things that I would like to see additional information on.
And if I may, Commissioner, Somerset can provide that information. One very important fact is, as I showed earlier, Somerset has a track record of over 14 years. Not one school has shut down. In fact, they have they have grown over time. So I think that they would be happy to engage you in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm not saying you guys would shut down. Just all I'm doing is proposing things that may or may not occur. I just want to make sure that I've looked at it from all angles before I end up making decisions in the long run. And just a follow-up question. Would this result, Mr. Brea, would this result in possibly, I guess, a school zone going out front then on US 1?
What was the question again?
Is whether or not, would this likely result, I guess, in a school zone then being at US 1 with the blinking lights and the 15-mile-an-hour speed, or?
I cannot speak for DOT. I know that they will do a traffic study to figure out what kind of impacts it would have on US 1 traffic. I doubt very seriously that they would put a 15-mile-per-hour zone in a highway such as US 1, but they do have schools along US 1 in other parts of the state which do front a highway of this size. So it really depends on what the traffic study shows when it's performed.
And one last question, sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
No, please.
What was your time frame? I don't know if I heard you speak of the actual time frame from
We
if you
want,
got approval.
yeah, we'd like to get the school open this year by August 15th.
I was trying to listen to as much as I could. I agree that, as I've often said, there's no price on education. I mean, education for our children, to me, is one of the most important things that we could have in a community. But I would like some more information. I'd like to know, because this is a workshop, I'd like to know how many actual schools we have in our city right now, and how, what the amount of capacity, and I don't expect an answer right now, but I'm just saying, as we move forward, I'd like to know, because I think Mr. Shelley made a very good point, and we need to make sure we have those answers. I can fully understand that this would be a feeder school for the two existing schools that we have now, and I'm curious to know how many children you have in those schools at present time, in those two schools.
About 620 between the two schools.
With 400 on the waiting list, and there are, I think, around 250 kids that are being sent out of town over to Silver Palms to school that we would bring back.
And those are academia children that are in those academia schools that are being sent over to another school?
Yes, to Silver Palms.
To Silver Palms.
And as far as opening this school, Councilman, we would only be able to open the first phase, which would be somewhere around 15 to 20,000 square feet, and progressively over the years open up the balance of the site.
And how many students would fit into that 15 to 20,000 square feet?
How many square feet?
No, how many students
The first phase?
could you facilitate in phase one?
About 250.
About 250? Okay. So there still would be a need, because you've got a 400 waiting list and you've got six. How many kids are, I know one school is 8th grade and one school goes to 6th grade, correct? How many children do you have in your 8th grade program right now? 45. 45? Okay. And because this is a Title I school, which I'm sorry, I don't mean to be naive, but I didn't see that in the book. Did you have it in the book that this was a Title I school? The book? But I mean, was it in the book that we studied? Because I didn't see that.
She's talking about the book that she had. No.
The books that we were given. No, it wasn't in there. So tell me, because I know we just went through the Keysgate Charter School and the process of how they have to go out for a lottery and all this other stuff. Is it different with Title I? It's exactly the same?
I think with the exception that we can have some early enrollment, and we're planning on doing that, spending the first couple months advertising for the Southwest section, and if there's any seats available after that, we would go outside.
Okay.
And keep in mind that there are, from what we understand, zero high schools in the Southwest, so we think there's going to be a tremendous need, and we could actually phase the development to accommodate the need for the Southwest. And presently, as they said earlier, we went through the addresses, and it looks like over 80% of the students in the two schools that are active here are from Homestead.
Okay.
And we want to keep those numbers at this, at the 80% or higher if we can.
I'll just say, as a point of reference, as somebody who grew up here in this area and if I tell you how many years I've been out of school, that would be a bad thing, but let's just say several decades I've been out of high school, and there's never been a high school in the Southwest area, in the Southwest. I will say, and that I don't consider this particular area the Southwest. However, if you are advertising and focusing on the Southwest, then that's a different story. But there's never been a high school or a junior high school that I know of in the Southwest. So I commend you on that you are looking towards facilitating our students in that particular portion of town.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
John?
if I could, back to me, thank you. Through you to through the chair to the manager, have we done somebody look at the value of this land, and have they given us a professional opinion?
Yes.
We have an appraisal from last year of $3 million, and we included it in your packet of material, and then there's also one from '07, I believe, and that was $4.5 million.
Okay. And then to the applicant, if, and not to wish any bad luck, and this is to both applicants if they're both here, that's a very valuable piece of property, as we both know, sitting on Highway 1, a main corridor down here, and it's a large parcel. And I know that you both are offering money for it. If at any time, with the prices that or you guys are offering up to pay for it, if at any time, and Richard, if you could help me, we discussed this, that something came different where you guys decided to close, couldn't succeed because of whatever, the student enrollment didn't make the numbers or whatever, I would like to see where the city gets the land reverted back to them.
At the price that you
At
paid.
at that price or free, and that would even include corporation changes down the road, however that would be.
Any assignment and assignees of the list.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that would be a problem. I think that we're offering $1 million. We're taking a existing building that leaks. It's got a metal facade. It's got a negative value to us and probably anybody that wants to do anything other than bringing back the bowling alley. So we've got some great concerns about opening up and doing a complete gut and putting new improvements inside and having a metal facade. So it becomes very difficult for us to do something like that because our preliminary estimates show that we have to pay over $2 million out of pocket just to get the school open. And you have $2 million. Excuse me.
My problem is, and my one thing, and it's not you, it's not the bowling alley, it's just in general, that in 5 years, that's a $40 million piece of property sitting there, and just throwing a number out there, you know, and we all hope that values rise back to that level at some point. And Somerset says, well, we can sell this land here and move over there for $3 million and net $37 million on the land sale for a building, and with the bowling alley also, and that's what I don't want to see happen if the city gives this land up at a good rate and in good faith. I don't want to see that changed. I don't want to see that good faith used for a large profit in 5 years.
I think that can all be covered in an agreement. I don't believe the reverter is the way to do it, but if there is an upside...
That's just my thought. We can start there and go somewhere.
I don't see a problem with that. If there's an upside, maybe you calculate what we have into it, what we paid for the land, and, you know, if there's a windfall in profit, the city, you know, shares in the profit. So I think that can be worked out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One thing, Mayor, if I
Yes,
could,
sir.
one thing it would be helpful for us to get clarification on in terms of your policy objectives with this site is whether that kind of a arrangement is important. In other words, if the objective of the site, whatever it is, whether it's to ensure that there's a school on there or to ensure an entertainment center or to get the best price, whatever your policy objectives are, if it is to ensure a particular type of development, if that's something that you want to see in perpetuity, and I think at some point we'll need some direction from the council on whether that's something that we should incorporate into our negotiations or not.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're going down the same path as we did with this sports stadium. Is we want to air it out tonight, hear about it, and then go back to the table. It's a workshop. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I think that time is of the essence. As fast as we could proceed, the faster we can get in and fast track it like the council previously did for the school at the baseball stadium. And in order for us to open up, we have to open up this first phase. We have to be completed by July, as the council knows, and students in by August 15th. So if we can get some sort of timetable, it would really help us.
I think what we need to do is finish this hear you out, hear the next applicant, and go to the table.
Yeah, selected, we understand.
Mayor, if I could also ask, since several of you had asked for you had some questions regarding how can they justify the demand. We had asked the same question with the staff, and one of the things they had relied on was, because we said, well, it seems to be like a glut of schools, and how do you know you can meet the demand? Their rationale was waiting lists, and then you had asked about how many schools. It'd be helpful if we can impose on them to do some of that number crunching for us and provide some justification as to how they feel they can do this. If in fact we're expediting this time frame, they probably would have better access to the data than we would. If it's your pleasure to have that information.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you. To the city manager, this was going to be, I know I was out, I had something to take care of, but my one concern was that as a city, what I would like for us to have is that the kids to school ratio. My concern is that it's important that we have quality schools, but then we also have to have the right ratio, because what happens is and this goes for nothing to do with this charter school or any other charter schools, but for, from here on out, any other charter schools that want to approach to come into the city, we have to have in mind that as the more schools that we have, we're pulling from other schools, and are those schools going to be able to stay in place? From my understanding, for instance, I'll give you an example. Looking at the public school, Homestead Middle is at 50% of what it used to be. There was at one time it held over 1,100 students, and right now it's about 500 students. Do we risk, having schools, public schools that other kids are attending, close down because we have not managed that properly? So that would be something that I would like some direction, kind of kid to school ratio, to make sure that we have that. And again, nothing with this school, just for any school from here on out, because we know that there's other schools that have mentioned, for instance, Waterstone has mentioned opening up another location. They've spoken at then time, Linda Bell, which is not Commissioner Bell, had mentioned, hey, we got some great news, we're going to open up a school down here soon, and so this is going schools are going to continually come before us, and I just want to make sure we have that information that comes before us. And kind of along the lines of what you're already talking about, but that was my concern, the one if I wanted to stick.
And if I could ask the applicants, do you have quick access to that information so that we can fast track this?
Yep. Yes, we do.
Great. And so we'll provide that for you. One other piece of information that didn't come forward, I don't think, was we had asked them, they had said during our conversations that they'd be offering potentially some space for the citizens in some form or another. So we've asked them if in fact that's something that they're going to guarantee, to try to attach some sort of a dollar to that, so that at least you can weigh that. Is that still on the table, or is it?
I think we brought it up in the presentation.
Have you attached the dollar value to that?
Yes, we have not, but after school vocational. You're talking about the after school programs?
You had mentioned that there may be after school some facilities available, and what that would be worth to the city long term is something I think we'd want to attach some value to.
Yeah, we did not. We'll come back to school program.
Yeah. I want to, Mr. Mayor, if I may, quickly try to answer Councilman Maldonado's concern. It's an issue that, as chair and school board member, we dealt with all the time. And the overlying concern was always that we're not only required by law, but also we want to provide parental choice to parents, and that the overlying concern and the number one concern is to provide the best possible education for our students. If the traditional public school is able to provide that, then by virtue of that, that school is usually well attended. If it's not, then other options come up. I do believe, though, with your valid concern, that once we do that number crunching, you'll be satisfied to see that there's a real bona fide need in the area.
And that's my point exactly. I just want to have that number before us, so that we, if this discussion comes up in the future, we as a city, we're clear on where we stand. So this question has been raised before, and so we want to make sure that we answer it. And so the reason for my statement.
And I think that's something that the county school system can offer us very easily too.
Yes.
Cavallo's office, Got the same number? Yes, please.
Actually, the Dade County School Board approved this charter. We do have a charter to open the school this year.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Somewhere in here, I read that this was going to be in shifts. It was going to be, there was a morning, afternoon shift, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, but reopening at 6 at night and going to midnight. Is that correct?
Madam Vice Mayor, that comment had to do with opening the school after hours for the vocational segment of it.
Okay, so it'd be
The-
vocational schools,
right,
such as like Robert Morgan or...
Exactly. The
Okay.
6 through 12 will run in the normal operation hours of Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I just have one comment. One of the analysis that we'd like to, or that I'd like to see included is the school board's not going to have the numbers of our empty lots in future residential growth, which we have a lot of. And so if we can somehow make sure that we incorporate those numbers, because not only do we know existing students, but we also have to forecast for when the residential comes back and we start filling a lot of those empty homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? I just have one, and I don't want to get into really depth of it, but the CRA component of this whole thing, do we, Jordan, would be the question. Do we actually owe the CRA for this building? I've heard $1 million, I've heard $3 million, I've never really asked the question. Did the CRA buy it? Do we owe it? Can we do it?
Mr. Mayor, through the manager, it's good evening. It's my understanding that the business deal that occurred was that the CRA and the City of Homestead entered an agreement, and that the city loaned the CRA an amount of money, or actually they authorized a specific amount of money up to, and they borrowed less than that amount in order to purchase another piece of property. In doing so, they also agreed that there would be an interest rate paid back to the city, so that when this property was sold, that we would, the CRA would pay back to the city those funds plus interest. What was borrowed, this was back in 2007, was $1,704,572.03. According to our finance department, the CRA currently owes the city $1,939,079.03. And it's my understanding, after consulting with the manager and with our legal staff, that there is an obligation for the city to pay back those funds to the city at the conclusion of selling this property. And there is a resolution that was passed by the city council back then, and there were 2 resolutions that were passed by the CRA Board of Directors, which of course was the council back then also in 2007.
Maybe I can clarify this a little bit.
Thank you.
The CRA wanted to purchase the shotgun homes.
Right.
They did not have the money to purchase the shotgun homes. The City of Homestead lent the CRA the money to purchase the shotgun homes. The CRA is obligated to pay that money back, but the agreement that was entered into between the city and the CRA provided that when the bowling alley, to answer your question, is owned by the city. It is not owned by the CRA. It is not even in the CRA.
Okay.
The agreement between the CRA and the city provides that when the bowling alley is sold, the city will give the money to the CRA, and then the CRA will use that money to pay back the city. As circular,
God, no way.
as circular as that sounds, circular as it sounds, that was the transaction.
Well, you kids weren't supposed to hear that.
Do you understand?
That's not good government. God almighty. Okay, so Jordan, where are you getting the rest of the money from? You're $1 million short.
I mean, like I said, one of the concerns that I would have would be that if you were short, obviously the board of directors, you all would have to convene and decide what you would want to do. I would point out respectively that there was an understanding that TIF dollars were not to be used, and I don't believe we have permission from the county commission in order to use TIF dollars in order to supplement the dollars that were owed, because my understanding was that this deal did not go through the county commission. So I would advise you respectively that if it is the board's and the council's decision in order that to execute a deal that's less than what is owed, and the CRA would be in essence continue to owe a certain amount of dollars to the city's coffers, that we would have to have some serious conversations as to how to execute that, considering that at this point I don't believe legally you can use TIF dollars to make the city whole.
I still sit up here and smile and smirk because I go, shouldn't they have some kind of say in it if they got to pay it back?
Who's that?
CRA. For God's sake, CRA.
You are the CRA.
Okay, moving right along. That's the only question I had. I knew it was a tough one. So we'll work that out. Obviously, we got a hurdle there to get through. Any other questions from council before we move to the next applicant? We'll be here all night. No other questions? Okay. Do you have any final statement you'd like to make?
No, I don't think so, but thank you to the Somerset family
Yes,
for
thank
coming
you
out
very
on
much.
such short notice.
Thank you, kids.
Thank you. And thank you, council.
Yes, thank you.
I gotta admit, for these kids being here this long, they're well kept, good behavior, so congratulations to administration. No homework tomorrow.
We'll hold on a second. Okay, the next presentation is by Kaufman and Sons, LLC. Just state your name and address for the record, if you would, Mr. Kaufman, and let's move forward, or whoever's going to speak first.
My name is Joshua Kaufman. I'm the project manager at Kaufman & Sons LLC. Our offices are at 4620 Southwest 156th Place, Miami, Florida, 33185. As I said before, my name, I'm here today to talk to you about why the city of Homestead will benefit from a bowling center. With the committee review meeting, we already talked about...
Mr. Mayor, just to keep things right, for anyone who's here for the committee of the whole meeting, which was scheduled for 6 o'clock, obviously the prior meetings have gone. Is anyone here for the committee of the whole meeting? Okay. It's obviously been delayed, but will
Thank you for being patient.
Will occur following these presentations, and we apologize.
Okay, sir. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. So as discussed a little bit in the committee review meeting, we discussed a little bit about the business, and we went briefly into the benefits of the city. And we felt that for this meeting, we would discuss more about more of the benefits that we would create for the city and the residents of the city of Homestead, and talk specifically about the business. Stated within the ITN, the city set forth that its objective is to sell the property to achieve maximum sales price of the property, to encourage commercial and retail development of the property in the form of a family-oriented entertainment facility, to create job opportunities in the city, and to generate tax and utility revenues for the city. We feel our proposal meets the best needs that the city stated within the ITN. Now, some of you might ask yourself, why bowling? To give you a brief history, in Dade County, 22 bowling centers have closed in 20 years. Why have 22 bowling centers closed in 20 years? The real estate value has become too high. Don Carter Kendall Lanes, which closed in 2006, was bought 6.5 acres for $100,000. It sold, it was bought in the 70s, sorry. It was sold in 2006 for $2.5 million an acre, more than what a bowling center will create in any given year, already with what the business had paid off the initial investment. So as I was saying, why bowling? Well, for the last 25 years, bowling has been the most popular sport in the United States, attracting approximately 70 million participants annually, in which 21 million of those residents were participants in the age groups of 6 and 17. Bowling ranks as the most successful form of recreation ever developed. By way of comparison, bowling has almost doubled the participants of golf and more than 3 times the active participants of tennis and skiing. Bowling is enjoyed by people of all ages, income levels, social status, physical abilities, and skill levels. In addition to being a sport, bowling is a highly social activity. Families, employees, employee organizations, and other groups frequently bowl together for fun, fitness, and friendly competition. Bowling revenues nationwide currently exceed $6 billion. Historically, revenues have increased every year, and even in the current economical times, bowling is a booming business. My associate Andre Pamplona is going to speak to you a little bit about the different categories of bowlers and how they relate to the city of Homestead.
Good evening. My name is Andre Pamplona. I'm the operations manager of Kaufman & Sons. Bowling has 3 tiers, of which we call the purely competitive bowlers. These bowlers are your league bowlers. If you've ever bowled in a league, it's a structured tournament which you bowl over 36 weeks, and then you have your prize fund at the end. It's a competition. You would have your casual bowlers, your everyday person that just goes and has fun and bowls as a recreation, not as a competition. And then you have your purely competitive tournament bowlers, it's which we would try to bring to the city. The city lacks any ability to provide league bowlers. Homestead dropped, how many league bowlers?
About 600.
600 bowlers once the lanes closed. We strongly feel that with a new center, with a center that has the ability to cater to those people, we would be able to bring that and almost double that number. We would be able to create a sporting league for our kids, summer leagues, Saturday and Sunday morning. Bay County was one of the highest in the state of Florida of having junior bowlers. It is now bottom of the pit almost because there's no bowling alleys. Bird Bowl, which is roughly 30 miles away, is the only bowling center in the city that caters to all these different bowlers. So the need to have a bowling center in the city of Homestead is great. From summer camps, one of the things that we're going to bring is summer camps. We can cater to 200 kids a shift, 3 shifts a day. That's over 600 kids, 5 days a week. Summer times, holiday seasons, spring break. So the ability to provide this to a community from young to old is great in the city of Homestead.
Henry Kaufman, the managing partner of Kaufman & Sons, is going to speak a little bit about the success of the bowl, what the success needs to be within the bowling center.
Well, I'm really going to discuss, excuse the voice, by the way, I'm just getting over a cold. Our proposal is a little different than any proposal you've seen here tonight. The proposals for the stadium, the proposal for the charter school, all envision some kind of public-private partnership of some type. We're here, based on what the ITN said, as a straight business. We're out there to buy the building and operate a business out of the building. And it's a business that was traditionally operated within that building for many years. We have looked hard at the bowling business. You want to tell the thing about the other centers? We ran a 20-mile radius of the existing bowling center, and every bowling center in Dade County is greater than 20 miles away. You have Bird Bowl up on Bird Road in about 92nd. You have the bowling center at Sunset Place, and you have bowling center up at Dolphin. Bird Bowl is the only bowling center left in Dade County with certified lanes, meaning they conform to all the professional standards. All the other centers have some issue with the way they're constructed that they couldn't hold tournament level play. Right now, all the league players in Dade County go to Bird Bowl or drive to Broward. Dade County High School bowling is limited to Bird Bowl. There are really no big tournaments coming back to Miami anymore. Used to be to compete in a tournament, you needed 2 houses in a county to compete. You only have 1 house in a county. Dade County Bowl Association had changed the rules because it's only 1 house for the people that are doing the sport. Our concept here was much more than just bowling. We have a bowling center. We have a fitness center. We have a restaurant. We have retail. We're talking to Cold Stones. We have a hard commitment. We have a commitment firm for a restaurant operator already to come into the facility. This takes us back in time to what was before in the center. So it's something that you people who have been residents for Homestead for many years know was possible here. Obviously, the makeup of Homestead has changed over the years. We've gone through Andrew. We've gone through the economic downturn here. But when you look at when the center was profitable, there were less residents in Homestead. When we look at our total business zone, we're talking, let's say, a 10-mile radius. Now, keep in mind, I said everybody else is 20 miles out, but just within 10 miles, the basis for the soon-to-be-released 2010 census estimate is 206,251 residents in Dade County. That would support how many lanes?
100 lanes.
That would support 100 lanes alone based upon industry standards. That's Bowling Proprietors Association, AMF, Brunswick. This is for when they open their own centers. We approached both AMF and Brunswick to come down here with us and partner with us. People don't want to come into Dade County.
You tell them we're not Dade, we're just south of Dade.
We're better than Dade down here.
That's right.
And we look at this as an opportunity. Pull back the plan of the building for a minute. The building is there. The facilities are there. When you walk into the building, it's like going into a time warp. There's dust there, the bowling balls are there, there's bottles behind the bar, the computers are there, food's still there. It's like time stopped. We've had AMF come out into the facility and look at the lanes. The lanes are usable, the lanes are repairable. It's going to cost 25% of the cost to purchase new lanes. We have a building. The building has problems. It leaks a little bit. Most of the outside air conditioning equipment's been stolen, but the guts of the building are still there. The plumbing is intact. The electrical systems are intact. We have to do a major renovation. We're prepared to commit $1.5 million in construction and renovation, new facade on the building, cleaning it up, making it presentable. We have $2.1 million of FF&E, which includes the $500,000 towards the lane, but we're going state-of-the-art in electronic scoring. This is to bring in a much bigger type of an audience to bowl with. I think Josh will talk about that in a minute. That's the type of people we're looking to attract. And we're also asking our investors to come up with $800,000 in capital to cover the ongoing operations. We've offered to the city manager in confidence to show them our complete financial setup. We have on computer what I'll call a virtual bowling alley. And it shows the operation of the center, operating costs, income, amount of games played, and it carries a 5-year projection on it. This is very proprietary for us. We will be happy to sit with the financial people of the city, demonstrate the viability of the center at various levels of operation to show that this is an economically viable situation. What makes it the most economically viable situation is we can purchase the property at a reasonable price in today's market, but more importantly, the facility is there. We don't have to spend another $3 or $4 million to recreate a bowling facility from scratch. Basically, if we have to come to South Dade to do that, it doesn't work financially. Could we build a bowling center someplace else? Perhaps. If we can find the right price in the land, maybe, you know, at a better market rate because of the economy, maybe if we were in the vicinity of where Don Carter's was, it's viable. We're certainly looking at land up in North Dade, up in the Aventura, for a bowling center. And in fact, we're joint venturing that with the folks that own Bird Bowl. But no one's looking at South Dade because the numbers just don't make sense. Randy Pope, who's a longtime contractor here in South Dade, came to me with the bowling project. He said, when you guys advertised, we weren't even looking for it. He said, look at this is fantastic. And the answer is it is. We think it's a golden opportunity for us, and it's a golden opportunity for the city for us to be able to put this in. You're not going to have it again, we think. And, you know, we're prepared to work with you guys to make this thing a successful center. We offered in committee to make the facility available for the city and to work with the city on the CAMP program, work with Parks and Recreation. This all feeds us in. We want to bring Dade County High School bowling, back down here to Dade County. Bird Bowl sponsors the FIU bowling team. We've made an approach to the University of Miami. The University of Miami has their own bowling team. We would like to become the home center and the sponsor for the University of Miami bowling team. So that's going to bring a college sport down to this level. We would envision within 2 years having a college-level tournament at our facility down here. We're going to have to work with Bird Bowl to try to bring down competitive bowling events back into Dade County. With 2 houses, we can do that with the National Bowlers Association. So our long-term view is, to build an operation here that's highly successful. Of the 600 league bowlers that left here, 350 of them are bowling up at Bird Bowl. We know them because we're in leagues. We're all bowlers here. We understand both the entertainment and the sporting aspect of it very well. And we think we can be a good community partner. Don Carter's, my youngest son, who's in college, he worked with handicapped kids there every Saturday morning. They would put the bumpers up. They had a special handicap lead. The kids got volunteer credits from the various high schools to come and work with them. And that was a good thing for the bowling alley. It was a good thing for the kids to do. So I think we can be a good neighbor for Homestead. I'm going to let Josh take it back now.
One of the other benefits that I want to talk about is the creation of jobs. I think that's very important. We're creating over 100 jobs that are going to be running from the day we open, plus all the construction jobs during the development of the operation. We're going to contribute to a better quality of life, giving the residents of Homestead something to do with their family, their friends, with businesses, and with relatives that come in town. We're going to attract outsiders to the city of Homestead. As we said, when people come from the Bird Bowl area to join leagues, they are going to come down here. They're going to spend money at the bowling center, at the restaurant, but they're going to also come down here and spend money at other local retail shops within the area that will benefit small businesses alike down here. Another benefit we are going to be doing is create additional tax revenues for the city. We understand that as soon as the city can sell this property, they are in a position to create tax revenues for the property. So we're going to re-put the property on the tax rolls and help create additional revenues for the city. And we are going to have all this community interaction with the elderly, the disabled, local leagues. We want to work with the city in coordination for citywide events. We're going to have family events there, corporate meetings, as we said, programs, and scholarships for the youth and youth bowling to help send them to college. Now, what are we talking about in the timetable? To make the center the most successful that it can be as quickly as possible, we need to open by a September 1st date. What that means is if we open any later than September 1st, we lose a year of leagues, which means that it's going to take a whole entire year to remarket the center to attract the right group of people when we first open. We are looking for cooperation within the city that if we enter into negotiations, part of those negotiations would be the preservation of the current use and zoning and a rapid turnaround for permitting. We have projected that it would only take us 3.5 months to build and renovate the facility to be able to open for this September 1st deadline. Talk a little bit about our firm's ability. Henry Kaufman over here and Randy Pope have a combined of over 75 years within South Florida and in Homestead of construction and development. Andre Pamplona and I, we carry over 20 years of experience within the bowling operations through 60% of the centers that existed between Dade and Broward County over the last 10 years. Michael Kaufman over here, he is our operator for the fitness component we are going to have. We have a component from Sandbar. We have a commitment from Sandbar and Grill over in Coconut Grove that they are interested in being our restaurant partner. So we have all the components and the team to put the things in place. And I hope the city will look favorably upon our presentation and, recommend us.
Well, thank you very much. Questions from council?
we want to start out. Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I could just disclose one piece of information
Sure.
that we just received today, which I haven't discussed with the applicant, but we did come to our attention that Kaufman and Sons LLC has inactive status with the Florida Department of State Division of Corporation. So I haven't really had the opportunity to talk to them about that and what the significance of that is, but just wanted to lay that on the table so that you were aware.
It's probably a renewal.
We became aware of that 3 days ago from our own banking institution, and we sent a check for $377.50
Every year.
up to the state to correct the problem.
I've been there. Done that. Okay, questions? Yes, Ms. Shaw.
We have two very different proposals here that are coming before us. And so, I asked about the process during the baseball stadium complex. That was after a bid process had closed. So I'm kind of asking, I guess, for a framework of how I should look at these proposals. What are we at? Are we actually in a formal bid process? The cone of silence, I guess, opened when we started this meeting. It closes again after this meeting, or so that if I wanted to ask any additional questions, I'm barred from doing so. And then, what are we looking for? Are we limited to what was in this bid as far as what our parameters are, or are we making broader policy? I mean, I'm trying to get a framework because I'm considering two completely different items.
Well, currently, you are in we'll call it a bid process. The cone of silence opened at the time that the manager presented his recommendation for the opening of the meeting. If you send the manager back for more information, the cone of silence will close again. So that's sort of where you are. If you look at the manager's recommendation, which he and I worked out actually together based upon some concerns that I had about challenges to the process, the recommendation really is that you reject both of the bids, but then go ahead and negotiate outside of a bidding process with the one that you prefer. That would put you in a very similar situation to what we had on the baseball stadium.
Or if I could add, or another option would be you decide you don't care for either of the proposals, and or you decide that you want to start the process again for some reason. So in essence, by rejecting the proposals, it gives you maximum latitude to handle this any way you choose.
Okay, thank you. That helped clarify, because that was my thing. Is I'm looking at it. I like a check in hand. We've had a lot of these public-private presentations, and we've entered into some public-private deals, and it's nice to see someone show up with a check and say, here's my cash. But at the same time, now there are policy decisions between a school and between an institution that's going to open, and so it's weird to be kind of evaluating what they're going to open the facility as, and then trying to figure out, well, is their business plan sound? Are they going to be closed in a year? What makes them different from the last bowling alley? Because then if I'm choosing this over the school and this fails in a year, then now we've maybe lost out on a school. So it's a really odd decision between these two items. I'm not sure where to go with it. That's why I was asking for the framework, which didn't really help me a lot. But
and if I could add, amongst the deficiencies from both of the proposals is we didn't really have the financial information that was required in the ITM. And then also, it came to our attention during our discussion with them last week that they would be willing to consider an upfront payment as opposed to what they have in their proposal, so potentially paying us the money up front, but they said that's a negotiable item.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Lobos?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
One of the problems that I have, of course, for many years I sat at the dais and wished that a bowling alley would come to the city of Homestead, because the minute the old one closed, we were getting requests to please either the city take over the bowling alley or that we bring someone in, and obviously it's been out there and we haven't had really solid response. I think that it's risky for the city of Homestead to finance your project, and that was as proposed, that we would get the money, but that we would get it over a 10-year period at the amount of money that you guys projected. And so I think that I know that the financing is hard right now. I know the economy, and this is potentially a project that a bank would not finance up front, but I don't see why the city of Homestead should take that risk over a 10-year period. And I know that you're willing to pay interest. I read the 5.5%, and I've spoken to the city manager, but that's really my hesitation with the bowling alley. And it's not to say that one product has any more value than the other. I mean, how do you assign a school and compare it to a bowling alley? Both provide something very valuable to the city of Homestead, but that to me was the one area that I just saw was, I don't know, not within my view of how to treat the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Okay. Yes?
I think first of all, I agree with you, it's a difficult decision. They're both quality of life issues for the people here in the city of Homestead. And I'm sure you guys will make what is best for the city residents. We did indicate to the city manager at our meeting that we would reconsider our proposal and change that into an outright purchase with the city manager. We also indicated that our proposal is now 5, almost 6 months old, and that the value of the properties continued to decrease. We came up with a fair market value of it, which is how we came up with the $2.5 million at that point in time. And we would need to sit and negotiate the actual final number with the city manager. But our investment premise here involved private investors coming in and putting up between 25 and 30% of the actual cash dollars, which does make it somewhat easier for us to finance. We have met with banks like Chase, and based upon a cash commitment to the project and cash funding of the operation of the project to ensure 5-year viability, we can go out and get the financing in this market. It's just you need to put in a lot more cash to make it happen, and we need to go to different investors to do that with. But it is possible to do that. And, we would like to make a deal with the city, assuming it works for both of us.
Yes?
I deal with I'm in the real estate business, so I deal with mortgage companies daily, and it is a tough market out there. I personally think that it would be okay to hold a note and mortgage if we decided to go this route, if we did it in a maybe a 3-year with a balloon or, a quick buyout. I think that would be a way to facilitate the problems of the mortgage industry, and also if the council so chose to choose your entity, I think that would be a way to do it. I wouldn't want to go the whole 10 years, but I think a 3-year buyout or a 4, possibly 5, depending on what the manager might recommend to us. Again, it's already been said, this is really a tough choice because you go to school, which education is key, but then you also have to realize that recreation is also key to a community as well. I happen to have been a bowler. I was on those leagues, and my husband said he knew he was in trouble when we got married 25 years ago, and he decided we'd go bowling one night, and I got my own ball and shoes. He says, I'm in big trouble. So I had them stored in a little spot he didn't know about, and my 500 patch and my 200 game patch. So I understand. And I will say that Homestead is lacking. We are severely lacking in recreational activities. Besides, we do have the national parks, and we do have our own beautiful parks here in our community, but as far as recreation goes, we don't have that. And I just mentioned to my husband just a couple of months, well, it was last summer, we were in Naples, and Naples is a very affluent town, but right there in the center of town was a bowling alley, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed on a Friday night. So they're everywhere. Bowling alleys are everywhere. Just like, I hated to see our skating ring leave, when we had our skating ring. My son spent many a day there in the skating ring. So, but we have a huge choice here, and you cannot disallow the importance of education, but yet, I see your point as well. What I would like to see this council do, and this is just my opinion, is follow the manager's advice and disallow both, and that way it would open us up to be able to negotiate with both entities and talk to you further without that cone of silence. Is that correct? The procedure's correct? So that would be my choice, so that we could go back with Mr. Rosen and his group and your group, and that way have a more open dialogue and see, and that way we'll have the figures from the school and the different things that we've asked the school to supply tonight. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, I agree with Vice Mayor Waldman. That's what I think would probably be the best option. Get more information from both and go ahead and reject both proposals.
Thank you, Mayor. I chair the Education Committee, and I've said time and time again that I know that the building block to Homestead is your good education system. Having said that, I agree with Vice Mayor Waldman where, I live here, and when I think about my kids and my family, I want to have some entertainment. There's no place to go here in Homestead, and I think that, also a part of making having Homestead grow and become a community is to have some place where, as a community, we could come together and have a family entertainment. I like the concept of the multi-function of the building where you're going to have a fitness center. Definitely would like to go there. I would like to have a gym that I could go to. The restaurant, actually my storefront's right across the street, so it'd be great to just, be close by. And above all, just have some bowling, a bowling alley here. I remember when it was here, I did attend it, and we had a good time. Even in Don Carter's growing up, I remember playing there a lot. So I know that, we would go with our friends and have a good time there. So that quality of life, I remember, and it made a difference in my life. So it is a difficult position where we're at right now because we're looking at two very important issues in our community that have the equal importance. So, I agree as well with Vice Mayor and Councilman Shelley with the manager's recommendation on what dismissing both of them and just, coming back to the table. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. We all done?
One last comment
Sure.
that I should have made before as well. Of course, the quicker that it goes onto the tax rolls, the quicker we get out of our own taxes. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was a very good presentation, and it's a tough decision for us. Education, quality of life, they're both quality of life. And we've come a long ways in 12 months. The council's done a yeoman's job here in this town. We've brought new schools in and cleaned up the community, and we'll continue to do this for our citizens. So I think at this time, if either one of you want to make a motion, Ms. Wallman or Mr. Shelley.
I'll make that motion.
I think that's the best way to go at this point so that we can freely negotiate with both of you and do what's best for the citizens of Homestead. Do what's best for the citizens of Homestead. And that's what I'm going to do in the very end of this. That's what my vote's going to lie. So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
I would just caution the council that understand that this is a committee of the whole meeting, so you can't really take final action here, so that the actual rejection of the bids would not occur until our council meeting, which is next week.
We do the same process again.
At that point, it would just, I think it almost could appear on the consent agenda, just as a rejection of these bids.
Okay.
And then at that point, the cone of silence is lifted, but until that time, it remains in effect.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Sorry, go ahead.
And that applies even though even if in a workshop form, do we need to bring this back up again at this committee of the whole under somebody's business to make sure it gets on the consent?
Okay, this is
I just want to make sure that if I'm contacted by somebody, that when it's okay to talk, I don't want to get into a legal...
After the council meeting.
Okay.
After the council meeting next week.
His question was, should we bring it back up when we open our Cal meeting
So
now?
this is a
Should we
workshop
bring it back
stuff,
up?
right?
This is a workshop. Should we bring it up?
No, we'll just put it on the agenda
Okay.
for rejection of the bid. It doesn't need to go to the council.
Okay.
And I did have a follow-up question to that. That was kind of an aside. We gave direction regarding the baseball stadium complex. We gave direction, I guess, to possibly bring that forward on the 19th or have them make additional proposals. But I also want to make sure that includes having the city manager, negotiate. So we're not just getting additional proposals from these applicants that are just whatever they want to propose. I would like to make sure that somebody is pushing back so that when it gets to us, we're not all trying to negotiate the contract, that something comes before us that's already been worked out, and we can just make some minor tweaks, changes, and make some policy decisions. It wasn't clear. I want to make sure that's what I would like to direct, but I don't know if that's what anyone else would like to direct.
Put the best deal you can put together and then bring it back to us.
Well, okay. The one thing I would ask for is if there is some consensus on any of the policy issues, for example, Are you leaning towards bowling alley versus school?
No, this is on the baseball stadium.
Same thing with the stadiums. Do you have anything that, are there any policy objectives that you'd like us to insist on? That's the only issue with negotiating. What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And I'm not sure we have direction.
That's up to the city.
May I?
Sure.
I'm going to just say what I think. I don't think it's fair to ask you to bring back what you think is a good contract. I mean, when I said what I said, I want to be able to vote up or down the two baseball stadium proposals. I don't know if that is a fair way to do it as far as the other council people go, but to me, that's the only way I can do it, because I want them to bring us the best offer that they have to bring us, and then bring both those offers to us.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then if
That's just
the
my
consensus-
feeling.
if that turns out to be the consensus of the council, then what we'll assume our task to be to squeeze out the best deals from each of the entities, the two left on the table, plus these two, if that's your will.
Correct.
And then you can pick on the floor, if that's what you prefer.
Okay?
We'll call them up.
We'll push as best as we can and see what we get.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that said, we need to close this workshop. Motion to close?
Motion.
Okay, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're now here under, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Burgess?